Chapter 1425. How could Jian Lingxiao dare to provoke such a ferocious person? He immediately retracted his sword and retreated, but when the sword qi slashed down, the chaotic qi crazily slashed at his body, leaving behind 1,000 sword scars. In a battle between the strong, it was a battle of momentum. Once one retracted their attack, they would not be able to escape unscathed. Jian Lingxiao was so scared that his spine turned cold. If not for his fast reaction and powerful body, the sword qi would have already pierced through his body, and he would have been like those immortals, sliced into tofu dregs. This guy was so powerful. Jian Lingxiao immediately fled. He did not care about Lin Chou and the rest, and ran in the opposite direction. Right now, the most important thing was to preserve his life. Who would care about that evil sword? If he didn't even have his life, what was the use of those worldly possessions? Can you run? Su Yun suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the air. His arm flashed, and his originally flat arm suddenly grew thick and heavy scales. Dragon scales. The vigorous hand turned into a sharp claw and pierced into the air. At the same time, a void appeared behind Jian Lingxiao. Jian Lingxiao was startled, and before he could react, he was grabbed by the sharp claw, and his entire body was dragged into the void, back to Su Yun's side. Jian Lingxiao's eyes were filled with endless fear. He started to regret it. Why did he listen to Lin Chao's slander and come here? Not only did he not obtain the evil sword, he even lost his life. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Jian Lingxiao roared. He could feel the dense god power from Su Yun's body enveloping him. You only know how to regret it now? It's too late. Su Yun said coldly. If you don't kill me, I am willing to do anything for you. Jian Lingxiao shouted in despair. But his words did not have any allure to Su Yun. I only want your life now. Su Yun snorted. The god power suddenly tightened, and Jian Lingxiao's body immediately exploded. Jian Lingxiao dead. When Lin Chou and the other immortals saw this cruel scene, they all opened their eyes wide and held their breath. No one dared to make a single sound, as they were still immersed in Su Yun's terrifying might. Apart from the few who died in the infighting, the rest of the 27 sect masters were all killed. Only Lin Chou was left. Lin Chou took a deep breath and looked at the extremely arrogant person. The fear in his eyes was gradually revealed. I never thought that I would have misjudged you this time. You are actually so powerful. If he knew that Su Yun was so powerful, he, Lin Chou, would not have come even if he was beaten to death. Moreover, Lin Chou still had something that he was extremely worried about. It was the ominous sword. Since the ominous sword was with Su Yun, Lin Chou was curious why Su Yun did not use it. Many people thought that Su Yun was weak and could not control the ominous sword, but Lin Chou thought that there must be other reasons, causing him to be unable to use the ominous sword, or maybe he did not dare to use it. But no matter what, Lin Chou knew that if he truly fought with Su Yun, he had to guard against the ominous sword, and only by suppressing him with his strength, causing him to be unable to use the ominous sword, could he defeat him. But from the looks of it now, it was impossible. Why aren't you going? Su Yun stared at Lin Chou and said indifferently. The killing intent in his eyes was already very obvious. Lin Chou was the creator and instigator of the Alliance army, so Su Yun could not let him go. Lin Chou also knew this, but, in a one-on-one fight, Lin Chou knew that he had no chance of winning. After thinking about it, he suddenly took a deep breath and took out his own magic treasure, a long spear. When he was fighting against Qin Qianlong, he did not even use his own life weapon. Su Yun, don't be too arrogant. You were able to kill these Lord Realm experts because you secretly used the power of the ominous sword. From what I know, the power of the ominous sword cannot be maintained for too long, which means, very soon, your power will become extremely weak. You are just bluffing, don't think that I don't know. With that said, the immortals behind Lin Chou immediately revealed looks of understanding. No wonder Su Yun was so fierce, so he was borrowing the power of the ominous sword. That's right, so many sect leaders had died in Su Yun's hands, they were unable to accept it, so this was the most reasonable explanation. Lin Chao's explanation was not far-fetched, many people accepted his words, and believed that after a while, Su Yun's strength would increase by a lot, and in that moment, the people who were afraid also became confident. Was this the power of lies? Su Yun smiled faintly, it was a smile of disdain. Since it's like that, Lin Shou, then you guys can make your move. He raised his hand, and in that moment, the Heaven Realm army behind him immediately raised their blades and swords, as though they were preparing to attack. Lin Chao's face was ugly, although he held onto his spear. He did not rush forward, but retreated a few steps, and shouted loudly. Heroes of the immortal world! Young geniuses of the various sects! Did you see it clearly? The person in front of you. It was this person, who just used the power of the ominous sword to despicably kill your sect leader. Not only that, he also killed the noble divine dragon tribe leader. How could such a person who committed such a heinous crime be forgiven? Now I order you all to wait. Charge at all costs. Kill this person. Kill. Kill. Charge! Lin Chou shouted, his voice impassioned. The immortals finally could not hold it in any longer. With a roar, millions of people poured down. Kill! Kai Tian shouted, and was about to rush forward, but just then, Su Yun suddenly shouted, and said indifferently, Wait! Kai Tian froze. Su Yun suddenly took out a huge fan, and stood at the front of the crowd. He stared at the immortals who were rushing over, raised his fan, and fiercely fanned down. A violent wind blew, and the sky darkened. The destructive wind was like the merciless scythe of the death god, flying forward under the fanning of the profound feather fan. The thousands of immortals at the front were blown away by the violent wind in an instant, their entire bodies turned into particles, and the ones at the back were also dismembered by the violent wind, cut into 8 pieces. It was extremely miserable. Seeing that, Lin Chou was stunned. What kind of terrifying method was this? Especially in such a large-scale battle between immortals, the destructive power of this fan was simply immeasurable. Su Yun waved the feather fan in another direction. The huge feather fan fell extremely slowly, but this slow fall gave birth to an endless and terrifying power. Under the violent wind, the body of an immortal did not have any strength to speak of. Even the current Su Yun would not be able to withstand the wind. So far, the only person who could contend against this terrifying wind was the great immortal judge. In fact, Su Yun did not know that the reason why the great immortal judge was able to withstand the wind was because of a treasure in his hands, the air-calming pearl. And now, no one knew where the pearl was. The million-strong army was directly defeated by these 2 fans. Su Yun's current strength was extremely terrifying, and the power of the profound feather fan in his hands was also countless times stronger than before. The current profound feather fan's power was completely released, and it was as if it was going to destroy the world. Kai Tian was not an idiot. Seeing this scene, he immediately understood Su Yun's intentions and immediately rushed forward. These 2 fans were extremely important. Not only did it completely destroy the formation of the immortals, it also destroyed their morale. If Kai Tian and the rest rushed forward, it would only become a one-sided massacre, a harvest. The army was in chaos, defeated, completely defeated. Everyone was running, and no one could stop Su Yun, which meant that no one could destroy them. There was no chance of victory. Su Yun stared at the panicking crowd, his eyes quickly sweeping across them. Finally, at the center of the crowd, Lin Chao's panicked figure was reflected in his eyes. He escaped really quickly. However, this guy seemed to have planned to escape from the start. Mobilizing the army to attack Su Yun, to buy time for himself to escape? Su Yun snorted, his body moved, and like a phantom, he rushed towards Lin Chou. Quick! Stop him! Quick, stop him! Feeling the surging sword intent behind him, Lin Chao's face changed, and he immediately shouted. The 100 Forest sect disciples on both sides immediately rushed out, trying to stop Su Yun, to buy time, but Su Yun was like a sharp sword, unstoppable. Before Su Yun could even get close to them, they were torn apart by the tyrannical sword chi. You want to leave just like that? Su Yun snorted, extended his hand again, and grabbed the air. Whoosh! Lin Cho, who was running for his life, was immediately grabbed by the neck, and before he could react, he was grabbed to Su Yun's side. But he seemed to have expected Su Yun to do this, and with a flip of his hand, he slapped towards Su Yun's chest. The palm seemed to contain flood, volcano, lightning, blizzard, and other natural powers. It was boundlessly profound, and vaguely seemed to be able to encompass the entire universe. It was no small matter. Su Yun frowned and raised his hand to strike. Bang! His body trembled slightly, but Lin Cho was like a kite with its string cut, flying far away, and even spitting out a mouthful of blood in the air. Lin Cho had already stepped into the origin deity realm. Although he had just entered, he was not someone Jian Lingxiao, Tian Tsang, and the others could compare to. Although it was only a palm, Lin Cho knew the difference between him and Su Yun from this palm. If they fought, he would definitely not be able to win. He held back a mouthful of blood, turned around, and rushed back, planning to continue running. But how could Su Yun let Lin Cho go so easily? He shouted loudly, and his body turned into a gust of wind, chasing after him. Get out of the way! When the immortals on the road saw the aggressive Su Yun, fear arose in their hearts, and no one dared to stop him. With a swoosh, Su Yun instantly jumped in front of Lin Cho, sword chi following. The limitless sword arts was activated, and countless sharp swords formed around Lin Cho, completely sealing off his path of retreat. Lin Cho's expression was extremely ugly. He looked left and right, knowing that he could no longer escape. He immediately said, Su Yun, why must you kill me? The ominous sword is yours. I will definitely not find trouble with you again. Can you let me go? Now you're begging me to let you go? Don't you think it's too late? Su Yun said indifferently. What exactly do you want? I want your life. His killing intent was awe-inspiring. You. Lin Cho gritted his teeth and said solemnly, if you kill me, you will not have a good ending. The Eternal Heaven God's Council will not let you go. You also have a connection with the Eternal Heaven God's Council? Su Yun was slightly surprised. Hearing Su Yun's tone, Lin Cho's eyes lit up and he sneered. That's right, although I'm new, the Eternal Heaven God's Council's strength is far from what you can compare to. Su Yun, you've already killed the Divine Dragon Patriarch. The Eternal Heaven God's Council has their eyes on you. If you let me go, no, I can still go to the Eternal Heaven God's Council to plead for leniency on your behalf, and ask them to deal with you leniently. Wouldn't that be even better? Plead for leniency? No need. Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, I think you should just pray for yourself. With that said, his finger moved, and the sword chi beside him instantly chopped off both of his arms. Ah! Lin Cho let out a heart-wrenching scream. You! That Eternal Heaven God's Council, I was just about to ask for some advice. Since you guys want to kill me, don't think that I will let you go. Su Yun snorted, his finger moved again, and the surrounding sword chi attacked, instantly killing Lin Cho. Chapter 1426. With Lin Cho's death, the remaining sect disciples lost their backbone. Su Yun did not show any mercy, and ordered Kai Tian to continue chasing. Although they were only disciples of the sect, Su Yun would not be merciful. Since they had come, they should bear the consequences of their actions. Furthermore, if they did not kill them and let them go back, they would be taken in by others in the future, and would pose a threat to Su Yun. Furthermore, Su Yun wanted to establish his might, and let those blind sects know that if they came to offend him, he would definitely kill them all. After taking care of the Immortal Sect alliance, Su Yun immediately entered the encampment and went into closed-door cultivation. After absorbing the divine dragon race's body, the recovery of his body and the circulation of his divine power had been greatly increased. His previous injuries had also been completely healed in a short period of time. This kind of surprise was simply unimaginable to him, and experiencing this battle, he also had some comprehension. Vaguely, he had a restlessness to want to cross over to the origin deity realm. However, after being in seclusion for 6 to 7 days, he still hadn't broken through, causing him to smile bitterly. The matter of cultivating Tao must not be rushed. But this kind of feeling of neither going up nor down was truly unbearable. But this also showed that the might after the origin deity realm was not what ordinary people could understand. After exiting the cultivation grounds, Su Yun immediately rushed towards Hu Qianmei. Pushing open the door, Hu Qianmei was sitting by the bed and talking to the Realm Master. Today, the Realm Master's complexion was not bad. She had lost her usual pale face, her face was a little flushed, her eyes were also shining. It was obvious that she was in good spirits. Seeing Su Yun walk in, the two ladies smiled. "I was just talking about you. I didn't expect you to come," Hu Qianmei said while grinning. Seeing that Su Yun was safe and sound, her heart that had been hanging in the air also relaxed. "Mei it's been hard on you." Su Yun patted her head and laughed. "It's not hard at all. Compared to Big Brother, what can I do?" Hu Qianmei laughed. Su Yun nodded, he was still at ease. Hu Qianmei seemed to have sensed that Su Yun had something to say to the Realm Master. He rolled his eyes, laughed and ran out. "I'll go see if the medicine in the pill furnace is ready." By the time he finished speaking, he had already disappeared. Only Su Yun and Realm Master were left in the room. "Are you feeling better?" Su Yun walked over and smiled. Realm Master nodded her head. "After these few days of recuperation, I'm much better now. Thank you, Su Yun. I should be the one saying that. If you hadn't found out the weakness of the great immortal judge, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to defeat him. The final result might have been even worse." Su Yun laughed bitterly. "Don't use your fortune-telling technique anymore in the future." "What? Don't you want me to use the divination technique to help you?" The Realm Lord blinked her eyes and asked. "Although the divination technique is good, the side effects are too great. It's best if you don't use it. As for the other problems, I will solve them," Su Yun said. "If you don't know about some things in advance, it will be impossible to guard against them. Unfortunately, I was born with the divination art, and I don't know how to pass it down. Otherwise, I could pass it down to you. Peeking at fate is not a good thing. Is that so? However, now that the immortal court is dead, the burden in my heart has been lifted. I plan to return to the Wanhua realm after a while. Go back? Since you've decided, I'll arrange it. You should rest well." "Yes." The Realm Lord nodded. Su Yun did not say anything more. He turned and left, only to see the Realm Lord's eyes flickering, a look of disappointment flashing past her eyes. If Su Yun had asked her to stay, she would have definitely agreed, but Su Yun did not say anything. In truth, how could the Realm Lord not know that Su Yun hoped that she could leave? After all, this place was too dangerous, and furthermore, Su Yun did not wish for the Realm Lord to use the divination technique again. The Realm Lord sighed and slowly closed her eyes. After leaving the cultivation grounds of the Realm Lord, Su Yun walked towards the meeting hall. The Sect Master and Octagon Aniseed were talking about something in the meeting hall. When Su Yun stepped in, the two of them turned to look at him. "Lord Demon Lord, you came at the right time. The Sect Master was just about to ask me to look for you," Octagon Aniseed said with a smile. "Looking for me?" Su Yun was suspicious. "What's the matter?" "It's about the Demon Saint," the Sect Master said indifferently. "Demon Saint?" Su Yun's pupils slightly widened. Back then, when he obtained the Demon Saint's inheritance from the ancient tomb of the true Devil Sect, it was enough for him to sweep through more than half of the immortal world. The great demons of my true devil realm have already found the location of the demon saint, but to revive him, it is not easy. This time, these great demons have come here, firstly to heal their injuries, and secondly to seek your help. Help? What do you want me to do? Su-Yun asked. All the great demons hope to borrow the power of your evil sword to awaken the slumbering soul of the demon saint, perfectly possess his body, and complete the resurrection, the sect master said. Hearing that, a flash of light flashed past Su-Yun's eyes, and he immediately shook his head. No! The power of the evil sword is extremely difficult to control. If I am not careful, there will be unexpected consequences. I don't agree. Furthermore, the demon saint is so powerful, once the evil sword gets close, it will be devoured. I don't agree to do that. Other than that, there's no other way. The sect master turned and stared at Su-Yun. Behind the hazy mist, the pair of dignified demon eyes stared straight at him, but Su-Yun looked at the sect master without any fear. Back then, the immortal court also tried to seize the evil sword, but the moment he got close, he activated the evil sword's vicious nature, and even the seal in the sword sheath was unable to suppress it. If not for the sword spirit still being awake, the evil sword would definitely reappear in the world, and at that time, the myriad realms would be destroyed, so I do not wish for anyone to get close to the evil sword, and even I do not plan to use the evil sword again. Su-Yun said solemnly. He had personally felt the terror of the evil sword. He was clearer than anyone else about the power of the evil sword. Is there really no room for discussion? The sect master's voice became unprecedentedly serious, but Su-Yun was still determined. Sect master, if we use the power of the evil sword to stimulate Senior Devil Saint's soul, then I can tell you all seriously that it is not reviving Lord Devil Saint, but rather, it is sending all of us to our deaths. He was not afraid at all, even though the person standing in front of him was the true Devil Sect master. He still said the same thing. The two of them looked at each other. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little tense, Octagon Aniseed immediately laughed and said, all right, Lord Sect Master, Lord Demon Lord. Let's put this topic aside for now. The matter of Lord Devil Saint is not that urgent. We have plenty of time to find a way to satisfy both sides. Isn't that better? Lord Sovereign, the reason you asked Lord Demon Lord to come here today was not just to revive Lord Devil Saint, right? There must be something else. Octagon Aniseed said with a smile, as if he was reminding the sect master. The sect master took a light breath and nodded. That's right, the reason why I invited the Demon Lord over today is indeed because I have something to tell you. What is it? Su-Yun asked. It's about the blood in your body. The blood in my body. Su-Yun frowned. Lord Demon Lord, I once asked you where the blood in your body came from. You said that you obtained it from a nameless corpse, right? The sect master said. Su-Yun hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Actually, this sentence was not completely correct, because when he obtained the blood of the nameless corpse, it was before he transmigrated. He did not know if the blood would be transmitted along with him when he transmigrated, but when he went to look for the nameless corpse in this life, he did not discover it. According to the time, the nameless corpse would definitely be inside the wall that he had found before. Moreover, there were no traces of anyone else entering that wall. Do you know who that nameless corpse is? The sect master asked again. I don't know. Su-Yun shook his head again. Let me tell you. The sect master turned around, his back facing Su-Yun, and said indifferently, if my guess is correct, that nameless corpse should be the true Devil Realm's ancestor, the corpse of the demon ancestor. True Devil Realm's ancestor? Su-Yun's eyes trembled, his heart jumped. Are you sure? Your blood is not pure devil blood, but it is filled with devil nature, and the devil intent is unbelievably strong. What is even more amazing is that it has always been hiding in your body, and I have some understanding of the demon ancestor, so I can be sure. True Devil Realm's ancestor? Su Yun suddenly thought back to the scene when the blood in his body was boiling after he absorbed the divine dragon race's flesh. That huge figure intended to resist the unyielding spirit of the evil sword. Su Yun was extremely shocked, and only regained his senses after a long while. He looked at the sect master and asked softly, "Since sect master has an understanding of the demon ancestor, then sect master, what is your identity? How far away was the demon ancestor?" There were not many rumors about him, and for the sect master to be able to recognize the blood in Su Yun's body, he was probably not an ordinary person. The true devil sect master was silent for a long time before he turned around. The mist around him gradually dimmed, and gradually revealed his original appearance. It was a middle-aged man with no hair, no eyebrows, and bright eyes. However, there was a blood-red scar between his eyebrows. His temperament was ice-cold, and he gave off a dignified feeling. The demon saint and I are actually disciples of the demon ancestor. The true devil sect master opened his mouth, staring at Su Yun, and said slowly. Su Yun looked at the true devil sect master's appearance, and waves of ripples rose in his heart. His appearance was somewhat similar to the demon ancestor's shadow he had seen before, probably because he cultivated the same devil art. However, he never thought that even Lord Demon Saint would be a disciple of the demon ancestor. The gradual decline of the true devil realm is not what I wish for, but the enemy of the demon ancestor is too strong. I do not dare to reveal my identity, so I use the mist to cover my face, to avoid people's eyes and ears. If the demon ancestor is strong, the true devil realm and even the devil cultivator will no longer exist. The true devil sect master said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. So that's how it is. Thinking about it, a lot of things must have happened back then. Otherwise, the true devil sect master would not have looked like this. Su Yun, since you have obtained the power of the divine dragon lord's fleshly body, this power will definitely be able to activate the blood of the demon ancestor in your body. The blood of the demon ancestor can give you a strong power, but after it is activated, it can no longer be concealed. I am worried that the great enemy of the demon ancestor will sense your existence and harm you, so you need to be prepared early. During this period of time, follow me to cultivate. I will teach you how to use the power of the demon ancestor's blood. The true devil sect master said softly. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. Yes, sect leader. Chapter 1427. The blood of the devil ancestor contains the true essence of the devil. We, the devil cultivators, were all born from his blood, and have also inherited the demonic nature, but the true demonic nature is not the cruel and heartless, vicious people say. The true demonic nature is to have that obsession, and this obsession is not something that ordinary people can understand. You obtained this blood by chance, and instead of saying that it was luck, it was better to say that the devil ancestor chose you, and you accepted the devil ancestor. This is not only good fortune, but also your own responsibility. The blood of the demon ancestor is like a vast ocean. It is boundless, yet all-encompassing. Demon monarch, I will draw out this demonic nature for you. You need to comprehend it well. Don't waste this opportunity of yours. Inside the training grounds, the sect master stood behind Su Yun with a solemn face, one hand on his back. A large amount of devil intent flowed from his arm to Su Yun's back, causing the blood in his body to heat up. Su Yun closed his eyes tightly, feeling the changes in his body. There seemed to be a strange power churning in his mind. It was like a memory, but it was hard to see clearly. The devil ancestor's blood contained an ancient power. How powerful was it? To completely unleash it, even the current Su Yun and the true devil sect lord would not be able to do it, but to pull it out and let Su Yun slowly absorb it was not difficult. The foolish old man moved the mountain, and the dripping water pierced through the stone. As long as he continued to work hard, he would definitely be able to accomplish it. The power of the devil ancestors' devil blood contains the power of heaven and earth, the power of heaven and earth, and even the will of heaven and earth. Every drop of its blood can encompass the entire universe and cover the stars. Only by diligently sensing and comprehending it can one grasp the true meaning behind it. Remember, do not be too hasty. The true devil sect master said slowly. This kind of bloodline was something that no treasure could compare to. If he could not perfectly absorb it, not only would Su Yun be in danger, he would also waste these treasures. Huff. A series of exhaling sounds came out. Su Yun seemed to have comprehended something. His chest continued to rise and fall. The melodious breathing sounded like an ancient song. The true devil sect master was startled. His heart was secretly shocked. Su Yun seemed to have already seen through the door. What a strong talent! He stopped the devil intent in his hands and stood behind Su Yun, watching quietly. The comprehension of this kind of devil blood could not tolerate any mistakes, otherwise the consequences would be extremely severe. He needed to protect Su Yun. Su Yun's entire body once again released a blood-red halo of light, flickering like a red star, and within the blood-red skin, a pitch-black chi gradually leaked out. This was not the devil chi, but the mystical magic power that came from his bloodline. They were like a dragon's snake, gradually spreading along Su Yun's skin, as though they were drawing some sort of pattern. Demonic language magic, 10,000 techniques are interlinked. When a true power reaches a certain limit, it will be promoted to a higher level of power. For example, the limit of profound spirit chi, the limit of immortal chi, the limit of immortal chi, the god power. But, the god power is definitely not the end, it definitely has its limits, and until now, there are very few rumors of powers that are higher than the god power in the immortal world, so who should explore this unknown domain? Suddenly, Su Yun opened his eyes, and a ray of blood light shot out from his eyes, directly piercing through the barrier of the cultivation ground and into the distance. After an unknown period of time, the blood light gradually weakened, and Su Yun's red skin also slowly returned to normal. The devil intent around his body gradually weakened, and everything seemed to have returned to the beginning. Su Yun, are you feeling better? The true devil sect leader asked. Much better. Su Yun exhaled and laughed. It's just that this blood of the devil ancestor is too profound. In such a short period of time, I am unable to decipher it in depth. I can only grasp some superficial knowledge, and obtain the initial stage of the power of the bloodline. Your perception is so strong, but you can only understand the surface. From this, it can be seen that the blood of the devil ancestor is not something that we can easily grasp. But we don't have to be anxious, let's take our time. The true devil sect leader said. Su Yun nodded. He stood up and planned to stretch his muscles and bones. But just at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. It was Su Luluo. Luluo, this girl should know that you are in closed-door cultivation, but for her to come so anxiously, I'm afraid something has happened. The sect master said indifferently. Su Yun frowned and quickly walked out. Big brother. Luluo, what's wrong? Seeing Su Luluo's pale face, Su Yun asked anxiously. Big brother, you. Come quickly. Su Luluo did not explain. He pulled Su Yun and ran towards the hall. The true devil sect leader quietly watched Su Yun leave and sighed. At this moment, the meeting hall was filled with people. However, these people were not from the encampment, but from the divine eagle race. Su Yun stepped in, and all the people from the divine eagle race looked at him. Su Yun looked around and realized that most of the people from the divine eagle race were injured. Many of them even had their wings cut off, blood flowed all over the ground, they were already on the verge of death, their eyes were filled with fear, as though they were still immersed in some kind of unbearable torture and pain. Su Yun. Just then, a familiar voice came out. Su Yun looked towards the voice, only to see Yang Zi walking out from the crowd. At this moment, her face was extremely pale, her eyes were lifeless, and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. The large wings on her back had lost a lot of feathers, and she looked extremely miserable. Not far behind her, Shuiyu was squatting on the ground, hugging his knees as he trembled, looking extremely pitiful. What happened? Suyun frowned and asked. Divine Eagle race is finished, Eagle Mountain has been completely destroyed, my father, he. The corners of Yang Zi's eyes were filled with tears, his voice was choked with sobs, but he could no longer speak. Su Yun's face darkened and asked softly, Who did it? The other party is very mysterious, they suddenly launched an attack on us, they have a lot of people, and they are very strong. The Divine Eagle race was immediately defeated. Father became the target of their attacks, and it was difficult for him to escape. In order to cover our retreat, Shuiyu's parents personally faced a few Origin Realm experts, and have already. Su Yun exhaled. He looked at the Divine Eagle race people, but did not say anything, as though he was thinking about something. Su Yun, after the incident, my father told us to find you, and said that you can protect us, but he said that when we were fighting with the Divine Dragon race, our Divine Eagle race did not make a move, so you might not take us in, but there is something that will allow you to temporarily provide us with protection. With that said, Yang Zi took out a sparkling ball from the space bag at his waist. 9 divine wind heavenly beads. Su Yun stared at the pearl, his eyes extremely calm, without much fluctuation. After a long while, he slowly spoke. Yang Zi, your father does not understand me, perhaps even you do not understand me very well. The Divine Eagle race is in trouble, I am very sorry about that, but my place is not a sanctuary. I can take you in, take Shuiyu in, because in times of danger, you once stood up and helped me. I, Su Yun, am a person who remembers favors, but this is not a breakthrough for you to ask for my help. If I take you in, then the people who destroyed you might also make a move on me. My place will once again become a battlefield, and more people will be sacrificed. This is not something I want to see. I want to be responsible for the people in my encampment. Su Yun said indifferently, his voice cold and emotionless. Hearing that, Yang Zi's delicate body trembled a few times, and looked at Su Yun in disbelief. The current Su Yun was not suitable to fight anymore. After fighting with the Divine Dragon race and the Immortals, he was already exhausted. He needed to rest, everyone needed to rest. In that case, you don't want to take us in? Yang Zi asked with trembling lips. Yes, sir. Su Yun said coldly. Could it be that even the 9 divine wind heavenly beads can't be exchanged for our lives? Yang Zi suddenly stepped forward, and shouted at Su Yun with tears in her eyes. The surrounding Divine Eagle race people all looked at him. Su Luluo and the rest who followed him also looked over. Yang Zi. No need to beg him. Our Divine Eagle race has not fallen to such an extent. That's right. Since he isn't willing to take us in, let's go. Let's go. Why should we beg such a person? When the people of Divine Eagle race heard the conversation between Yang Zi and Su Yun, they all stood up angrily and shouted angrily, wanting to leave. Enough. Just then, Su Yun suddenly shouted. His voice was like thunder, shocking everyone. He stared coldly at Yang Zi, his deep eyes looking extremely terrifying. Yang Zi's face became even paler, and he could not help but take 2 steps back. Back then, when the Divine Dragon race attacked us, where were your people? When we faced the full power of the Divine Dragon race, where were you? When we faced the allied forces of more than 20 immortal sects, where was your Divine Eagle race? Your patriarch knew that I was facing a great enemy, but he did not extend a helping hand to me. I don't blame him, because from his point of view, his way of doing things is reasonable. But now, what right do you have to come here and ask me for help? What right do you have to come here and criticize me? Shouldn't you think from my point of view? My people have fought continuously, suffered heavy losses, and are exhausted. Why should I help you? Why? Could it be that your divine eagle race is such a shameless person? Su Yun shouted coldly. Every single word he said caused the divine eagle race people to be ashamed. They looked at Su Yun in a daze, their faces filled with shame. Su Yun was not wrong. When Su Yun faced a strong enemy, their divine eagle race only watched silently from the side, and the divine eagle race did not say a word. Su Yun did not blame the divine eagle race, because he knew that the divine eagle race could not protect themselves, but this was not a reason for the divine eagle race to stand by the side and watch. If the divine eagle race truly treated him as an ally, no matter how difficult the situation was, they would lend a helping hand, but the divine eagle race did not. You want to find protection? On what basis? With this 9 divine wind heavenly pearl? It might be a treasure in your divine eagle race, a treasure in the entire immortal world, but in my eyes, it's just a ball that can shine. I don't care about this treasure, I only care about the lives of my people. Su Yun roared. Hearing that, Yang Zi's eyes lost focus. He sat paralyzed on the ground, his lips trembling, but he did not know what to say. Could it be that the heavens want to kill the divine eagle race? Muttering sounds came out. Su Yun took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Although I am not willing to keep you guys here, I, Su Yun, am not a person who repays kindness with enmity. If you guys really want to stay, continuing the bloodline of your divine eagle race is also possible. However, you guys must agree to one condition of mine. Su Yun said. Conditions? What conditions? Su Yun, speak. Yang Zi wiped the tears off his face and said, You must stay in the encampment, no one is allowed to go out, and even more so, you are not allowed to leave the place I have arranged for you. You cannot let anyone know that you are here. Furthermore, all of you must listen to me completely and treat me as your leader. Are you going to put us under house arrest? Someone asked. If you don't want to stay, then scram. Su Yun bellowed. The man opened his mouth, his face changed slightly, and he did not say anything else. I will arrange for people to treat your injuries and allow you to recover. All you have to do is wait for my investigation. Investigation? Investigate what? A divine eagle race man asked again. The whole story of the attack on the Eagle Mountain, and also, who is the mastermind? Su Yun said, then immediately turned and left. Chapter 1428. The attack on the Eagle Mountain was out of Su Yun's expectations. Even the Lord of the Divine Eagle race was not able to escape. It could be seen that the other party had more than one Origin Realm expert, or perhaps, even stronger existences. Su Yun did not know what was going on, and if it would implicate him, so he decided to leave the Divine Eagle race behind. If the other party were to focus on him after dealing with the Divine Eagle race, then he could join hands with the Divine Eagle race. If the other party was only looking for the Divine Eagle race to take revenge, Su Yun would send the Divine Eagle race people away when his injuries were healed. Although the Divine Eagle race had adopted a wait-and-see attitude when Su Yun was facing a great enemy, the Lord of the Divine Eagle race had saved the Realm Master and warned Su Yun. Looking at these feelings, Su Yun would not really ignore them, and the reason why he said those words was to let the Divine Eagle race understand their current situation, and let them be prepared as soon as possible. Just then, 2 footsteps came from outside, neither fast nor slow. Hearing that, Su Yun knew who it was. Big brother, I have already sent people to the Eagle Mountain to investigate. I believe that in less than 5 days there will be news back. Su Luluo's face was a little tired as he slowly said. Luluo, it's been hard on you. Ever since Xiang Yang died, all of his missions have been piled onto you. You must be exhausted during this period of time. Su Yun turned and said gently to Su Luluo. Big brother, it's not hard at all. Compared to you, this little bit of mine is nothing. Su Luluo smiled and shook her head. She rarely smiled, but when facing Su Yun, she would often smile brilliantly. Perhaps only Su Yun could see this beautiful smile in this world. Su Yun, I'm afraid the matter of the divine Eagle Mountain this time is not as simple as you imagined. You should be on guard as soon as possible, maybe an even stronger enemy is about to appear. The true Devil Sex sect leader, who walked in with Su Luluo, said, I have been thinking about who exactly attacked the divine Eagle Mountain, and what is their goal. If it was for the 9 divine wind beads, then there was no reason why they couldn't take it away. But Yang Zi brought it to me, so it can be seen that the other party's goal is not the divine Eagle Race's clan protection treasure, but something else. Su Yun's face was unprecedentedly serious. He scratched his chin and said, I am even suspecting, how did Yang Zi and the rest escape from Eagle Mountain so easily? To be able to kill the divine Eagle tribe leader, he should be very strong. Yang Zi and the rest are just a bunch of old and weak soldiers. There is no reason for them to be able to escape here, unless those people intentionally place them here. So brother found an excuse to put them under house arrest, and at the same time, sent Faceless to personally watch over them, right? Su Luluo laughed. Yes, but this is only my suspicion. Before the results of the investigation are out, don't act rashly for the time being. Su Yun said. Act rashly? I feel that you'd better make preparations as soon as possible. The divine Eagle Mountains matter this time. I faintly feel that it might be in existence above origin deity realm taking action. At this moment, the sect master suddenly spoke solemnly. Above the origin deity realm? Sect leader, what is the meaning of this? In other words, a great immortal from the immortal realm might have made a move, he said calmly. With that said, Su Yun's heart skipped a beat. Those great immortals that existed in the ancient era? The great immortals of the immortal realm, under our definition, are actually very broad, because the cultivation resources of the immortal realm are far richer than those of us devil cultivator, so it would not be too difficult for them to nurture a strong warrior. The number of immortals in the ancient era was limited, but during this period of time, there were also many talented and even monstrous geniuses that grew to the strength of a great immortal. The unwritten rule between the great devil and the great immortal is actually just a check and balance between each other's strength. However, when one side is stronger than the other, this rule no longer exists. The sect master said in a deep voice. Hearing that, Su Yun became silent, but he felt that the sect master had not finished speaking. Su Yun, we must think of a way to obtain the support of more people, and obtain the protection of stronger experts. Now, if we go and revive the demon saint, all of this can definitely be redeemed, and the great immortals of the immortal world do not need to be afraid. The sect master stared at Su Yun and said. Su Yun did not make a sound for a long time, as if he had expected the sect master to say such a thing. Must we rely on the evil sword? After an unknown period of time, Su Yun opened his mouth, but his voice was extremely hoarse. I'm afraid it has to be the evil sword, the sect master said. Hearing that, a look of worry flashed across Su Yun's face. He did not say anything else, and directly walked out of the training grounds. He would definitely not touch the evil sword. The sect master did not know about the matter of the evil sword and Ling Qingyu in the Sky Martial Continent, so Su Yun had already started to consider letting Long Xianli take the evil sword and temporarily hide. But just as Su Yun was frowning, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Yun. Master Ancestor? Seeing that, Su Yun was overjoyed. Su Yun. You don't have to be so worried, it's not like there's no way, it just depends on whether or not you guys are willing to do it. The Sword Ancestor laughed, obviously, when he walked in. He heard everyone's conversation. So it's Lord Sword Ancestor. The sect master stared at Sword Ancestor, a trace of vigilance flashed past his eyes, but he quickly hid it and said, What method does Lord Sword Ancestor have? There's no harm in saying it. If you want to save the demon saint, you need to use the power of the evil sword to activate his soul, right? Although I have never met the demon saint, I have heard a lot of rumors about him, and I have also heard a little about what happened to the demon saint. However, if you want to rely on the evil sword, I'm afraid it's not just to use the power of the evil sword to activate the demon saint's soul. I'm afraid there are other uses for it, right? The sword ancestor suddenly squinted his eyes and laughed. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and turned to look at the sect master. The sect master looked at sword ancestor's smiling face, then looked at Su Yun and finally sighed and said helplessly, Su Yun, I did not mean to lie to you, it's just that if I told you the truth, you would definitely not choose to use the evil sword. What exactly is going on, sect master? Su Yun asked in a low voice. This matter has to start with the matter of the demon saint. The sect master shook his head helplessly. After the demon ancestor died, the true devil realm was led by my senior brother, the demon saint. Senior brother completely inherited my master's mantle. The devil power in his body was extremely powerful. He even gave people the feeling that he had surpassed his master. His strength, leadership, wisdom and vision were all incomparable. At that time, the true devil realm had just started. The devil cultivator had not been born for long, they were still in a confused period, and their civilization had not even formed, so how could they contend against the immortal world that had already formed a system? However, senior brother had a unique vision and vast knowledge. In the 3rd year after his master died, he took over the true devil realm, and left the true devil realm to travel the 10,000 realms, and even the immortal world. After 1,000 years, he finally returned to the true devil realm, but the moment he returned to the true devil realm, the entire lifeless and gloomy demon realm immediately became brand new, and the devil cultivator began to have their own system, and their own civilization. They began to have their own beliefs and pursuits, and all of this was given to them by their senior brother. He later recruited a group of immortals who were dissatisfied with the current situation of the immortal world to join the demon realm, allowing the demon realm to develop even faster and become even stronger. As time passed, history evolved, and the true devil realm continued to develop. Powerful great demons emerged one after another, and the true devil realm at that time was in existence that could completely contend against the immortal world. Amongst the myriad realms, the immortal world finally had a formidable enemy, and that was the true devil realm. Thus, the immortals started to feel fear, they were panicking and uneasy, and started a war against the true devil realm, intending to destroy the true devil realm, to eliminate this potential threat. The true devil realm naturally rose up to resist, and established the demon city as the command center of the true devil realm, and this demon city became the true devil sect later on. Even if the immortal world sent an army of elites from various sects, they would not be able to suppress the true devil realm. Instead, the angry devil cultivator attacked the immortal world, and the devil cultivator was like a tide, blotting out the sky and devouring the immortal world. At that time, the true devil realm was all-encompassing. The power of the devil cultivator was not only limited to demons, but also experts from various realms who were not satisfied with the immortal world. There were even a large number of immortals, and what they chased after was definitely not the immortal world's ability to cover the sky with one hand, but the beliefs in their hearts. Finally, the people of the immortal world were afraid. They began to compromise, to fear, to miss peace, to regret their actions, and at that time, the immortal world proposed a reconciliation. They hoped that the people of the true devil realm would withdraw from the immortal world, and sign a truce agreement with them, a peace agreement. Immortals and demons would never turn against each other. No matter who it was, they were not willing to face that terrifying war again, and as the leader of the devil cultivator, his senior brother went to the immortal world to sign an agreement with him. However, he did not expect that among the immortals, a peerless expert would secretly ambush his senior brother when he was signing the agreement, injuring his soul and capturing him. Senior brother was captured, The devil cultivator did not dare to act rashly, and was forced to leave the immortal world. The supreme expert sealed the gate to the immortal world, and wanted to kill Senior Brother, but Senior Brother relied on the magic treasure left behind by Master to let his soul sleep forever in his body, and his body was immortal and indestructible. If he did not kill his soul, he would not die, so Senior Brother was left in the immortal world forever. That supreme expert was afraid that sooner or later, Senior Brother would wake up again and lead the devil cultivator to overturn the immortal world, so he stayed by Senior Brother's corpse, preventing anyone from getting close to him. As the sect leader spoke, no one dared to disturb him. Hearing that, Su Yun was completely enlightened. After Senior Brother was killed, I took over as the leader of the true devil realm, but in that situation, I had no choice, and my strength was not as good as Senior Brother's. After Senior Brother was captured, the true devil realm was in chaos, and it took me 100 years to calm the true devil realm, but at that time, the true devil realm had already been torn apart, and many of Senior Brother's former enemies had come looking for him. In order to preserve his strength and save Senior Brother, I took out a group of loyal people from the Devil City and created the True Devil Sect. During that time, I had once led the experts of the True Devil Sect into the immortal world in an attempt to save Senior Brother, but all of them ended in failure. At that time, the people of the immortal world did not look down on us. They colluded with a group of ambitious devil cultivator, and actually started a war again, killing their way into the true devil realm. We had no choice but to fight back, and Changgu and Inemo shone brightly at that time. The sect master spoke in detail, and Su Yun had been listening attentively. He looked at Su Yun and sighed. You should know what happened after that. After Changgu and Inemo died, the true devil sect started to collapse, and they were the last glory of the true devil realm. Right now, the only way to recover the true devil realm is to save Senior Brother, but the supreme expert who ambushed Senior Brother has been guarding his corpse all this time, so we have no way of doing anything. If we were to fight him head-on, none of us would be a match for him, and the only way right now is to use the evil sword to kill him. Only then will we be able to succeed. Su Yun turned and stared at the true devil sect leader. It was very difficult for him to digest so much information. He could understand the thoughts of the true devil sect leader, but understanding did not mean that he agreed. Sect leader, I want to ask you a question, Su Yun said in a serious tone. Ask away. Do you know how the devil ancestor died? He asked in a deep voice. Chapter 1429. As these words fell, the true devil sect's sect master was obviously stunned. Grandmaster, I don't know. The true devil sect leader shook his head. Actually, after we took human form, we did not come into contact with the master ancestor. We are just a strand of devil chi that leaked out from the master ancestor's body, devil chi that has its own consciousness. We only remember that the master ancestor's body suddenly collapsed and transformed into the true devil realm, that's all. But from the memories contained in my blood, I saw that the demon ancestor was killed by a sword. Su Yun was unprecedentedly serious. Killed by a sword? You mean? That's right. This is the ominous sword. Su Yun closed his eyes and thought back to the scene he saw when he absorbed the divine dragon lord's body, and said coldly, The demon ancestor is truly worthy of being the demon ancestor. The evil sword has already destroyed everything, but he is not afraid in the slightest, and is willing to use his body as a shield, to resist the evil sword, to prevent it from continuing to destroy the world. Even though the evil sword is much stronger than him, he does not have the slightest intention of yielding and would rather break than bend, and finally, his body collapsed and died. Sect Master, even the demonic ancestor is unable to resist the power of the ominous sword. Could it be that you can subdue it? Do you wish for the myriad worlds to repeat the same mistake? You don't understand the ominous sword at all. Su Yun's words were not polite at all. He had to dispel the sect leader's thoughts. The ominous sword would definitely not solve the problem. On the contrary, it itself was a huge problem. If he were to use the ominous sword, it would not bring him hope, but instead, it would bring him destruction. He believed that Ling Qingyu would not agree to it. When the Grand Master heard this, he closed his eyes, as though he was thinking about something. All these years, the true devil sect leader had walked the path of suffering and exhaustion. Perhaps his ability was not as strong as the demon saints, but he was definitely not much weaker either. Under that kind of internal and external troubles, facing the suppression of a strong enemy, he was still able to preserve the true devil realm, which was enough to show that his methods were extraordinary. Even so, Su Yun could not use the ominous sword. Not only for everyone, but also for Ling Qingyu. I say, why bother with the ominous sword? In this world, the ominous sword isn't the only powerful sword. If you really want to save the devil saint, there are other ways. At this moment, the sword ancestor spoke again, breaking the deadlock. The sovereign raised his head and looked at sword ancestor. Sword ancestor, what do you mean? Could it be that there is a divine weapon that can contend against the ominous sword? Oh, that's not what I meant. There shouldn't be any divine weapons that can contend against the ominous sword. However, there are many divine weapons that can save the demon saint. At least, that's what I think. The sword master said with a faint smile. What good plan does the sword ancestor have? The sect master asked. This is a good plan. It's not really a good plan. It's just a helpless move, but it's worth a try. Sword ancestor, please enlighten me. The sect master said solemnly. In fact, how could he not know the danger of the ominous sword? Forced to do so, he was not willing to make such a request to Su Yun, but since sword ancestor had other methods. I heard that in the ancient times, there was a person in the immortal world who was famous for his sword. He was invincible, and his attainments in the way of the sword surpassed the past and the present, reaching an unprecedented peak. It is said that the sword in his hand was made from a piece of divine iron that fell from the giant axe used by the Creator when the world was created, and it possessed the power of the ancestor. That person has already fallen. If we can find the sword that this person used, it will definitely be powerful enough to replace the ominous sword and save the demon saint. The sword ancestor said. Is Lord Sword Ancestor talking about the legendary heaven exterminating sword? The sovereign said. That's right, it's the heaven exterminating sword used by the heaven exterminating sword god. The sword ancestor laughed. Another sword god? Su Yun frowned. He had seen many sword gods in the immortal world. Although they were very strong, they were not to the extent of defying the heavens. The sword ancestor seemed to have sensed Su Yun's thoughts and laughed. Su Yun, don't underestimate the heaven exterminating sword god. This sword god is an existence that can truly be called a sword god, and his name as a sword god is not a collective name, but because he has truly reached the realm of the gods. The realm of the gods? Su Yun took a light breath, his heart skipping a beat. Yes. After returning to the void, everything will be transformed, and one will be reborn. From the beginning to the God transformation, one will step onto the God domain and become a true God realm, which is also the legendary God-sealed realm. The sword ancestor said in a low voice. God-sealed realm. Su Yun repeated, his heart filled with shock. Regardless of whether it's the sword god's smile or the sword god's white clothes, they are just titles given by others. They can't be considered real sword gods, and to be honest, my title of sword ancestor is just an undeserved reputation, but the title is just a code name, it doesn't matter what it is called. The sword ancestor laughed. Then, Master Ancestor, where is the heaven exterminating sword now? Su Yun thought for a moment, then raised his head and asked. I'm not too sure about that either. The sword ancestor shook his head and said, In my life, not only am I infatuated with the way of the sword, I am even more infatuated with the way of the sword. I have traveled through the myriad realms and seen many swords, and I am also very interested in the rumored true sword god Annihilation. I have only heard that the sword god Annihilation fell somewhere in the immortal world, and at that time, all the swords with intelligence in the entire immortal world split open, causing a strange phenomenon in the sky, as if they were following the heaven-exterminating sword, and that heaven-exterminating sword should also be by his side, but I am not sure. If the heaven-exterminating sword is still complete, after all, at that stage, all the swords are intelligent, and if the heaven-exterminating sword dies, I am afraid that the sword will not exist alone. Then why are we placing our hopes on the heaven-exterminating sword? Is there any point? Of course. It is true that people will die and the sword will be destroyed, but there is another possibility. The sword ancestor laughed. The sword god is powerful and has a high realm. If he dies, as long as no one deliberately destroys it, his body will not melt. If this spirit sword wants to protect his body from being harmed by others, then it will self-destruct. Perhaps it is still guarding the corpse of the heaven-exterminating sword. So, we are going to try our luck. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head. This possibility did exist. But no one knows where the heaven-exterminating sword god died. Where should we start looking? Su Yun asked. The heaven-exterminating sword god was just a legend. It was illusory and hard to find. The immortal world is so big, and the area that the immortals have explored is too small. The southernmost immortal sea, and the westernmost dead immortal domain have not been touched by the immortals. According to the news I received, the last time the heaven-exterminating sword god appeared was in the dead immortal domain. Su Yun, maybe you can send someone to the dead immortal domain to see if there are any clues. The sword ancestor said. Dead immortal domain? Su Yun frowned. That place was extremely far away from the encampment, and from the encampment, according to the footsteps of a spirit god, it would take at least 3 months to travel back and forth. Adding on the investigation, it would probably take at least a year. However, there was nothing he could do at the moment. Su Yun nodded and said, "Then I will let Faceless make the arrangements, and let him lead a team to investigate." Yes. The sword ancestor nodded his head. Then during this period of time, I will wait here for news. Speaking of which, I am also very interested in the heaven-exterminating sword god. If I can personally see him, even if it is just a corpse, I will have no regrets in this life. Master Ancestor can stay here for as long as you want. I will arrange a place for you to cultivate. All right. After deciding to search for the exterminating heaven sword, the sect master no longer requested Su Yun to use the ominous sword to save the demon saint, but looking at his anxious expression, it was obvious that he was not optimistic about the world-exterminating sword. Maybe he thought that it would be extremely difficult for Su Yun and the sword ancestor to obtain the world-exterminating sword. No matter what, he still had to give it a try. After Su Yun left the training grounds, he inspected the encampment, and after a round, he returned to the training grounds to continue cultivating. Not long after, the investigators of the Eagle Mountain returned with news regarding the Eagle Mountain. The Eagle Mountain was completely destroyed, and the corpses of the divine eagle race were everywhere, but what surprised Su Yun was that the magic treasure inside the divine eagle race was not taken away, and even the materials and pills were not missing, and amongst the dead, almost all of them were from the divine eagle race, and the other party seemed to have moved the corpses, causing the people who were investigating to not be able to find any clues about the other party. But one thing was certain: the person who destroyed the Eagle Mountain was very powerful, unimaginably powerful, at least from the traces at the scene. The divine eagle race did not have any room to resist, and the enchantment around the Eagle Mountain was shattered in one strike. A powerful enemy, simply killing the people of the divine eagle race without any other reason, was simply illogical, unless they were enemies of the divine eagle race. For this, Su Yun once again came to the place that Su Luluo had arranged for Yang Zi and the rest of the divine eagle race. No, this is the first time I have seen those people, and I have never heard of our divine eagle race provoking such a powerful enemy. Facing Su Yun's question, Yang Zi shook her head. Thinking back to the scene at that time, her face was still extremely pale. If they were not enemies, then why would they be so ruthless towards the divine eagle race? Su Yun was once again confused. Just as he was frowning, a group of people slowly arrived at the outskirts of the encampment. "Where is Lord Su Yun?" An extremely powerful voice came from outside the encampment. The voice was extremely loud and actually contained divine power, spreading throughout the entire encampment, causing people's souls to tremble, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Everyone in the encampment raised their heads and looked towards the source of the voice. Su Yun and Su Luluo looked at each other, then immediately ran towards the entrance of the encampment. "Who?" Su Yun landed in front of the door and looked outside. Looking outside, there was a row of immortals. All of them were dressed in golden robes with black patterns on them, making them look extremely noble. There were a total of 13 immortals, men, women, old and young. All of them had arrogant expressions and looked down on everyone. The way they looked at the people in the encampment was as if they were looking at ants. Su Yun frowned. He looked around. He only recognized the person standing on the far left. Qian Tian. "Ayaya, Lord Su Yun, you finally came out," Qian Tian said with a smile. "Lord Qian Tian, what business do you have here?" Su Yun's voice was gloomy. His gaze landed on the white-bearded old man beside Qian Tian. The roar just now was from him. Chapter 1430. Don't tell me Lord Su Yun doesn't know why I'm here? Qian Tian snorted. The last time I came, I stated my purpose, but Lord Su Yun has yet to give me an answer. You want us to join the Eternal Heaven God's Council? Su Yun's brows twitched. That's right. I remember last time you said that you would let me fight with the divine dragon race. If I win, you will not disturb me, and I have already defeated the divine dragon race. You should abide by the agreement. Su Yun said in a deep voice. But in reality, we do not intend to abide by it. Qian Tian laughed. We broke the agreement. So dishonest, do you think I will join you? Su Yun said calmly. He knew that Qian Tian would break his promise, but he didn't expect Qian Tian to be so straightforward. In fact, it was true if he thought about it carefully. In this world, whoever had the bigger fist was right. Whether those so-called promises could be kept or not depended on the mood of the powerhouse. That means, Lord Su Yun does not intend to surrender to my Eternal Heaven God's Council? Qian Tian's smile gradually disappeared, a trace of coldness appearing in his eyes. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your lives when we fight later. The white-bearded old man's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. His dusky yellow eyes suddenly opened and stared at Su Yun. Killing intent? Su Yun's expression turned cold, his deep eyes sweeping towards the old man. Such a cold gaze. The old man's brows twitched. He could not help but look away, not daring to meet Su Yun's gaze. Su Yun's eyes contained too many emotions: despair, cruelty, viciousness. If he was a true cultivator, he should not have so many negative emotions. Surrender? Since things have come to this, why beat around the bush? Didn't you come here for my ominous sword? Why do you have to speak so pompously? You don't even have the slightest bit of sincerity, and still hope that I will surrender to you. Isn't that too laughable? Su Yun said coldly. You are courting death. Do you think you can contend against my Eternal Heaven God's Council? The old man took a step forward, his killing intent becoming thicker and thicker. Being able to resist and surrendering are two different things. Sir, please do not misunderstand. Have you made your position clear? Qian Tian smiled as if he understood the meaning behind Su Yun's words. He glanced at him and said, "You have to think this through. Any power that refuses to join the eternal Heaven God's council will have a miserable ending." And Su Yun frowned. He stared at Qian Tian and asked, "Was the divine eagle race destroyed by you guys? Looks like you've already received the news." Qian Tian smiled and did not deny it. As expected, the people on this side all revealed shocked and angry expressions. The Divine Eagle clan is a great ancient clan. They usually stand aloof from worldly affairs and have never harmed anyone's interests. But now they have been slaughtered by you. Why did you do this? Why? The reason is very simple. They are rebelling against the eternal heavenly God's counsel. Qian Tian said softly, but his voice was filled with incomparable coldness. Hearing these words, Su Yun's heart jumped a few times. Just because they did not join the eternal Heaven God's council, the Divine Eagle clan was destroyed. What kind of existence was the eternal Heaven God's council to actually have such ability? It must be known that the Immortal Court had coveted the Divine Eagle clan's 9 heavenly wind beads, but did not dare to use force. From this, it could be seen that the eternal Heaven God's council was an existence that surpassed the Immortal Court. Lord Su Yun, your understanding of the Divine Eagle clan's strength is definitely not any less than ours. You have to think this through clearly. Don't let a moment of impulsiveness ruin your bright future, and let those who follow you die for nothing. It is not worth it. If you agree to join our eternal Heaven God's council, we can forget about the past. Not only that, you will definitely be valued by our Lord Antion. Lord Antion's strength far surpasses the Immortal Court. If you follow him, your future will be limitless. What do you think? Qian Tian laughed. It was an extremely confident laugh, as if everything was within his grasp. He believed that the destruction of the Divine Eagle clan would serve as a good warning, so back then, he had personally given the order to destroy the Divine Eagle clan. He wanted to make the entire immortal world understand that they were stronger than the Immortal Court. But in the next second, a word came out of Su Yun's mouth. Scram! His voice was like thunder, loud and clear. Qian Tian's expression changed greatly. He looked at Su Yun in shock. What did you say? He retracted his shocked expression and said coldly, "Do you need me to repeat myself?" Su Yun bellowed, "Scram! All of you scram!" There was no room for discussion. Madman! Seeking death! The old man beside Qian Tian could no longer endure it. In his eyes, Su Yun was just a junior. How could he be so arrogant? He immediately took action in anger and rushed towards Su Yun. The aura around his body was like a torrential storm, sweeping out like a huge wave towards Su Yun. If an existence of the profound spirit god realm were to touch this power, they would immediately be smashed to pieces. Even if it was an expert of the returning ruins, it would be difficult for them to resist. "Come at me!" A cold light flashed in Su Yun's eyes. He leaped up, his hand forming a claw, striking towards the wave of qi. His hand turned into a dragon claw. The sword qi wantonly rolled and jumped, touching the qi. It directly tore it apart, then swept up the power of the world. Like a dragon, it smashed towards the old man. The old man's eyes flashed. He never thought that Su Yun's attack would be so sharp. Ordinary returning ruins existences would not be able to achieve such a terrifying effect. However, with so many eyes looking at him from both sides, how could he retreat? This move, he was going all out. His hands quickly formed a seal, and a circle of golden light bloomed between his hands. Following that, an enormous image of a god descended from the sky, enveloping his body. Demon god suppressing palm. Kill. With a wave of his palm, ghosts wailed and gods howled. The group of demons trembled, and the divine power seemed to want to purify the myriad worlds. Break for me! Su Yun's sharp claws were fearless, like a hot knife through butter. He fiercely smashed towards the palm, the dragon scales on his arm flashed. The terrifying power was unleashed along with this attack. Like a surging flood, it instantly tore apart the powerful divine palm. Crack! The old man's arm was directly shattered, and he was sent flying, falling not far from Qian Tian. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and a large number of cracks appeared on his skin. His aura was already weak, and he was heavily injured. Cripple. One claw. He had crippled a returning ruins expert. Qian Tian's eyes trembled as he looked at Su Yun in shock. The other experts of the ancient gods' assembly who came with Qian Tian were also slightly surprised. I've underestimated this person. Everyone thought to themselves. That claw. It actually contained the power of a divine dragon? Could it be that Su Yun obtained some benefits from the divine dragon clan? A sharp-eyed person noticed some clues. The expressions of Qian Tian and the rest changed. From the looks of it, not only had the divine dragon clan been defeated by Su Yun, they had also been ruthlessly absorbed by Su Yun. Su Yun retracted his palm, stared coldly at Qian Tian and the rest, and bellowed, "This kind of nobody dares to behave atrociously here? Is there no one else in your ancient gods' assembly? Send someone who can fight over." Qian Tian's expression was unsightly. Even though he had joined the eternal heavenly gods' council, his strength wasn't high. His superiors had taken a fancy to his intelligence, but they didn't care about his methods. Otherwise, why would he stand behind others? Su Yun, don't be too arrogant. Elder Yang is old, and his physical strength cannot keep up, so he gave you a chance. He just wanted to comfort you, and give you some face. Don't go overboard and don't push your luck. Just then, a man accompanied by a dark green sword walked out, and said to Su Yun with a calm gaze, "Give?" Su Yun sneered. This was probably the most shameless thing he had ever heard. At this cultivation level, what was the difference between old and young? People only looked at cultivation realm and strength. The strength of the physical body also came from one's own strength. I advise you to submit to us as soon as possible. Maybe I can still forgive you. Otherwise, when I make my move later, I'm afraid you won't be able to take it. The man slowly closed his eyes, and a sharp sword intent surged out from his body. Like a vast cloud, it covered Su Yun. He seemed to want to use his sword force to force Su Yun to retreat. The sword intent blew wildly, the sword force pressed down, causing the people behind Su Yun to retreat. They were unable to block the terrifying sword force. But Su Yun himself did not move at all. The man opened his eyes, and his eyebrows twitched. "Your sword force, is that all you have?" Su Yun said indifferently. "Are you looking down on me?" The man was infuriated by Su Yun's words. All the sword intent in his body was released without holding back. The terrifying sword force smashed towards Su Yun with a destructive aura. He roared, "I want you to understand what is the true sword force. Press down for me." Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, the thick clouds in the surroundings dispersed. The people in the encampment continued to retreat. Even Qian Tian could not resist the sword force, and quickly retreated. Su Luluo was forced to retreat to the center of the encampment. When the immortals fought, the mortals suffered. She was the weakest. It was impossible for her to watch. Only Qin Qianlong and the rest were still watching. However, when the terrifying sword force attacked Su Yun like a storm, he did not move at all, only the robes on his body fluttered in the wind. What is a true sword force? Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, "Let me tell you." With that said, his eyes tensed up as he stared at the man. In that instant, the man's entire body trembled. He felt as if he had been dragged into the sword tomb below the 9 hells. His entire body instantly turned cold. A trembling feeling surged in his heart. He was shocked to discover that the confidence in his heart was being exploited by the opponent's sword force, bit by bit, nibbling away. Not good. The man was shocked. If this continued, he would definitely lose in a few breaths of time. His eyes turned cold. He stared at Su Yun, who was standing there, and finally, he was no longer calm. He immediately leaped forward and pulled out the dark green sword from his waist. The sword tip was unsheathed, and a poisonous light flashed. This was impressively a poisonous sword. Chapter 1431. The moment the poisoned sword appeared, the sword light was boundless. The terrifying poison seemed to be able to corrode a person's soul. Despicable! If the sword force can't do anything to my lord, then just use your sword. Is this what you call a sword force? Seeing that, Qin Qianlong scolded loudly. Humph! Who said that I can't use my sword? The man's eyes turned cold. He did not have any scruples. He represented the Eternal God Council, a power stronger than Su Yun. What was he afraid of? Even if Su Yun was strong, so what? From the fact that he did not kill the old man, it could be seen that Su Yun did not dare to provoke the Eternal God Council, so he was unbridled. The body of the poisoned sword flickered. The poison qi exploded along with the sword qi. Like a cloud, it enveloped the surroundings, crazily devouring the surrounding immortal qi. He was very confident in his sword. The power of poison could control everything and destroy everything. No matter how strong the defense was, it could be completely devoured by the poison. He did not believe that under the pressure of his powerful sword force, Su Yun would still be able to receive this move. The terrifying poison aura seemed to want to fill the world. However, the person in the poison qi was still like a statue, not moving at all, until the poisoned sword approached. Sword? Are you even worthy of using a sword? Just then, Su Yun suddenly opened his eyes, staring at the poisoned sword that was thrusting towards him. His palm moved slightly, and a burst of sword qi formed at his fingertips. Just as the sword qi was formed, the man who was rushing towards Su Yun suddenly fell from the sky as if he was struck by a gigantic fist. His entire body fell straight down, smashing into the thick clouds below. The clouds collapsed, but he continued to fall. The strange scene was shocking. Sword force? This terrifying power, could it be sword force? The people on Thousand Heavens' side were all shocked, all of them looking at Su Yun in shock. Such a terrifying sword force even forced them to retreat. No one dared to approach. What kind of powerful sword force was this? But right at that moment, another ferocious sword force surged out from Su Yun's body. In that moment, all the energy in the world seemed to be pulled by this force, bringing with it an unstoppable might. It rushed towards the falling man. This was a different force. Two completely different forces. And the second force was even more powerful. Its destructive power was even more shocking. Everyone was dumbstruck, their hearts beating rapidly as they stared at Su Yun. Why you can't kill me? Feeling the boundless pressure, the man felt incredibly terrified and shouted with a pale face. Why can't I kill you? Su Yun snorted, his qi increasing. However, with a kacha sound, the body of the descending male suddenly cracked, already unable to endure this imposing aura. The man with the poisoned sword had only used one move, but before he could even touch Su Yun, he was wiped out. Qian Tian and the others fell silent. Su Yun's ruthless methods were simply unexpected to them. On the other hand, the old man rejoiced inwardly. No matter what, he was only injured and his physical body was damaged. Although his cultivation had regressed by quite a bit, at least he was able to preserve his life. Unlike the man, not only had his physical body been destroyed, even his soul had been torn apart by the terrifying sword force. Good! Excellent! Qian Tian regained his senses and looked at Su Yun coldly. Since you've decided to start a war with the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council, then, prepare to die. With that, Qian Tian turned to the experts beside him and asked, Sirs, what do you think? What else is there to think? From what I can see, only this guy called Su Yun has some skill, the rest are just trash. In a while, we will restrain Su Yun, The rest will use their abilities and raze this camp to the ground. I want to see what will happen to those who dare to make an enemy of our eternal heavenly God's counsel." A handsome man said coldly, "That's right. As an ancient great clan, the Eagle God clan has been bragged about so much, but in the end, didn't they not even last half a day?" An enchanting woman by the side also spoke up. Although Su Yun had killed 2 people, it was not enough to make them feel fear. They had more than 10 experts. Even if Su Yun could fight against 5 or 6 of them, who could fight against the rest? The divine abilities of the strong, with 1 rage, 10,000 corpses, ordinary immortals could not stop them. A motley crew? It seems like your eternal heavenly God's council is also very confident in yourselves. Could it be that this vast immortal world cannot contain you? Right at this time, a cold snort came from within the camp, following which a sharp sword ray shot out. Sword Ancestor? Seeing who it was, Qian Tian frowned. "He is the Limitless Sword Ancestor?" The handsome man said solemnly. "That's right. This Su Yun is his successor." Qian Tian said. Looks like it's only SOSO. The handsome man said disdainfully. "Then do you want to try my SOSO sword?" The Sword Ancestor stared at the man with a sharp gaze. The man's eyes flashed with a cold glint, but he snorted and did not accept the challenge. "Since the eternal heavenly God's counsel is so confident, I believe that there is no peace between us. Martial Ancestor, since you are here today, why don't you teach me a few sword techniques?" Su Yun said to the Sword Ancestor beside him. "Your attainments in the way of the sword are no weaker than mine. I have nothing to teach you, especially the sword force just now. It is enough to see that your sword is about to reach large success." The Sword Ancestor stared at the void-returning experts in front of him and said solemnly, "These people from the eternal heavenly God's council are not weak, Su Yun. You can use them as stepping stones to help your sword Dao take a step forward." "All right." Su Yun nodded and extended his hand into the space bag. A slender blade was slowly pulled out by him. The cold blade of the twin moon sword seemed to have a sharp aura that could split the heavens and the earth, especially after it was grabbed by Su Yun. The trembling of the sword became even more intense. Su Yun could clearly feel the trembling of the twin moon sword. This was a spirit communication sword, and as its master became stronger, its spirituality would be captured by its master, and it would also transmit more spirituality to its master, and the power unleashed by the sword would also be greater. Hearing the conversation between the Sword Ancestor and Su Yun, the faces of the people from the eternal heavenly God's council all turned ugly. "Bastard! Who do you think we are? You want to use us to practice your sword? That depends on whether you have the ability or not." The handsome man was a little angry, and immediately activated his immortal chi. "Everyone, there's no need to waste words with this person. Just kill him and bring his soul back to report." "All right." As the sound of his voice faded, these people were about to rush forward. "Wait a minute." At this moment, the Sword Ancestor suddenly shouted. Everyone stopped in their tracks and looked at the Sword Ancestor strangely. But the Sword Ancestor smiled and said, "Aren't you guys afraid of rushing forward like this?" "Afraid? What's there to be afraid of when you're about to die?" The handsome man said coldly. "Someone who's about to die?" "Well said, but do you think we're about to die? Or are you going to die?" The Sword Ancestor laughed, pointed at Su Yun and said, "Don't forget, he is the one who possesses the evil sword. Can you guys contend against the evil sword?" With that said, the faces of the handsome man and the others changed. Qian Tian was also stunned. How could Su Yun not know the purpose of the Sword Ancestor's actions? He was worried that these experts would attack him in groups, making it difficult for Su Yun to resist, so he said those words to intimidate them, making them have some misgivings. The Sword Ancestor knew that Su Yun could not use the evil sword. These words were enough to make all the experts worry, and not be ruthless. Don't speak nonsense. Su Yun does indeed have the evil sword, but how can he unleash the power of the evil sword? Otherwise, why don't you just kill us? Qian Tian said coldly. He was worried about the hearts of these people. He was afraid that they would not be able to kill Su Yun and would really be his sword practice. Believe it or not, it's up to you. If you have the guts, then go. Why are you wasting time? The sword ancestor laughed. The handsome man and the others were still hesitating, but at this time, Su Yun and the sword ancestor had already rushed forward. Since you're already afraid, then stay. Dead people should not be afraid of anything. Su Yun snorted. His sword force unfolded. The dual moon sword slashed towards the handsome man like a torrential storm. Such a terrifying aura caused the handsome man's face to change. Su Yun was using his full strength. It was not that he was worried that he could not defeat these people, but he really wanted to use these people to break through. He was forcing these people, since these people from the Eternal Heaven Gods Council were able to destroy the mystical Eagle Mountain. They were definitely not simple, so he wanted them to unleash their full strength, give him pressure, and let him successfully break through. Master, we're here to help you. Seeing that Su Yun and the sword ancestor had made their move, Qin Qianlong immediately brought his men to rush forward, but was stopped by a low shout. Don't go! Qin Qianlong turned around, only to see the true devil sect leader standing not far away, his hands behind his back, watching the battle in front of him. Why? Because your lord wants to practice the sword, the true devil sect leader said indifferently. The boundless sky was filled with sword chi. Tens of thousands of them converged into a wave of swords that surged towards those people. Don't go too far. The handsome man was enraged and shouted, You guys go deal with the sword ancestor, leave this arrogant disciple to me. With that said, he quickly formed a seal with both of his hands, and a ball of blazing flames shot out from his palm, flying towards Su Yun. The flames turned into a fierce tiger, stepping on the sky, as though it wanted to ignite the heavens. It pounced towards Su Yun. Kill! Su Yun bellowed, the sword chi condensed, moving the void, tearing apart the fierce tiger. Tiger roar! The man bellowed, a circle of sound waves rushing out from his mouth, but the moment the sound waves flew out, they were ignited, turning into a scarlet-red color, crashing towards Su Yun. The temperature in the air increased. Sword screen. Su Yun blocked with his sword, and a sword screen appeared in front of him. Heaven-burning lotus. The man shouted again, the flames in his hand condensing into a fist-sized lotus. It was incomparably sacred, and the terrifying temperature could no longer be described with words. Even the air was distorted by the temperature. The man's eyes released a golden light. He stared at Su Yun, his face filled with killing intent. You should be purified. With that said, his arm trembled, and the fire lotus flew out, spiraling continuously, striking towards Su Yun's sword screen. Chapter 1432. Dong. When the lotus flower struck the sword screen, it immediately exploded into a circle of flames that shot out in all directions. Sword ancestor and the people surrounding him immediately separated, retreating while urging their techniques to resist. When Qin Qianlong, who was in the distant encampment, saw this terrifying scene, he anxiously shouted, Quick! Immediately open the enchantment! Open the enchantment! Bang! The enchantment was opened layer by layer. Time was short, and the enchantment in the encampment had not been completely repaired. There were only 10 layers that could be used, but not long after the enchantment was opened, it was melted by the terrifying temperature. When the people in the encampment saw that they had broken through the enchantment and were rushing over, they all frantically retreated. They were completely powerless to resist this terrifying wave of flames. Qin Qianlong's face was extremely ugly, but he did not retreat. Instead, he activated his immortal qi and turned it into a barrier, wanting to resist. However, this wave was too strong. After only holding on for less than 5 breaths of time, He felt that he was about to be overdrawn. His arms were trembling so much that it seemed like they could break at any time. Hiss! Just then, a large amount of devil chi suddenly surged out from behind him. These devil chi were like ice-cold water, pouncing onto the wave of flames. In the blink of an eye, most of the flames were extinguished. Qin Qianlong sat on the ground, gasping for breath. He turned his head to look, only to see the true devil sect leader standing there quietly. Qin Qianlong's eyes flashed with waves of respect. The people in the encampment had never seen the true devil sect leader make a move before. They only thought that he was a devil cultivator and had some relationship with Su Yun. However, the scene today had changed their minds. What kind of powerful devil was this? There seems to be some confusion in your eyes? Just then, the true devil sect leader suddenly opened his mouth, as if he was talking to Qin Qianlong. Qin Qianlong was silent for a moment, then nodded. Yes, I have a few things to ask you. Go ahead. Do you have a lot of powerful devils like you in the true devil realm? Are you worried? A little. Qin Qianlong's meaning was already somewhat obvious. What he sought was freedom, and following Su Yun was for a higher cultivation and a wider world. He did not wish for the immortal world to be occupied by the demons, and a strong power would always cause people to be wary. The true devil sect leader understood Qin Qianlong's words, and said indifferently, I'll tell you the truth, there won't be more great immortals in the immortal world. Qin Qianlong didn't say anything else. The true devil sect leader looked at him, then focused his attention on Su Yun, who was fighting intensely. Although the flames were extremely terrifying, to the point that even the barrier around the encampment could not withstand them, Su Yun was different. No matter how strong the flames were, they were still released from the immortal chi, and facing Su Yun, who could completely control the god power, they were still not enough. The flames gradually dissipated, and the handsome man panted slightly. Looking at the place that was engulfed by the flames, his eyes flashed with a sinister light. No one could resist this attack. Even the experts of the Divine Eagle tribe were turned into ashes after this attack. The man coldly stared at the other side with some anticipation. The flames on the other side gradually dissipated, but there was still a terrifying destructive power lingering in the air. However, not long after, the man's eyes trembled and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. What? A blurry figure gradually appeared from within the flames. It was Su Yun. When the flames dissipated, the man sized up Su Yun, only to see that he was completely unharmed, without a single wound to be seen, as though his seemingly ferocious attack had been completely ignored by him. Is that all you've got? Su Yun said indifferently. The ridicule in his words was without a doubt. Bastard! The man was enraged. He wanted to rush forward again and attack Su Yun, but Su Yun had already lost his patience. To be exact, Sword Ancestor was being attacked. He needed to go and share the burden as soon as possible. Immediately, he raised the dual moon sword and rushed towards the man. The man's face changed. He felt that something was wrong. When Su Yun rushed over, it was like a sharp sword was stabbing towards him. The sharp light that pierced through the sky and illuminated the night was simply terrifying, as though it had the power to break through everything in the world. His person was like a sword, and his sword was like a person. Was this Su Yun's sword Dao? Just what level had his comprehension of the way of the sword reached? The man did not dare to think about it. Facing the figure that was as fast as a dragon, he shouted loudly, and finally did not dare to hold back. Immortal Chi was released from his body, the magic treasure was activated, and an incomparably large flame shield appeared in front of him. Come! My flame shield can burn anyone who attacks it. I don't believe that you can break through it. The man roared, his face extremely sinister. This shield was mixed with his divine power. Even the Divine Eagle Lord could not break it. He did not believe that Su Yun could ignore it. However, in the next second, a sharp sword suddenly pierced through the flame shield and pierced into his chest. The man's entire body trembled. His immortal chi and divine power became chaotic, the shield dissipated. He stared at Su Yun, who was standing outside the shield, his heart beating wildly, his face pale white. The difference in strength is not something that can be made up for with just a few roars. Even now, you still can't see your own strength clearly. Death is only a matter of time. Su Yun said indifferently, then moved his finger slightly. The divine power that covered the dual moon sword immediately splashed out in all directions. The man's body immediately shattered. When the others saw this, they were extremely shocked. You guys are next. Su Yun raised his sword and rushed towards the remaining people. Don't be too arrogant. Seal! A middle-aged man bellowed, and spat out a pitch-black door from his mouth, striking towards Su Yun. The door was about 100 meters away from Su Yun. When it suddenly stopped, the door opened, and one after another iron chains flew out, coiling around Su Yun's hands and legs. Seal! The middle-aged man shouted again. The iron chains blossomed with light, turning into shackles that wrapped around his shoulders and neck. Vaguely, Su Yun felt as if his soul was being restrained. Sword Ancestor's movement technique is powerful. It is not easy to kill him. Do not bother about him. Get rid of this person first, then we will surround and kill Sword Ancestor together. Faster! The middle-aged man shouted at the people surrounding Sword Ancestor. Yes. Kill Su Yun first. Faster! Qian Tian also shouted from afar. Kill me? Is it that easy? Su Yun said indifferently, then released the dual moon sword in his hand, and with a xiao sound the sword flew out, bringing with it the divine power. It pierced towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face was extremely ugly. His eyes swayed. If he did not dodge, he would definitely be pierced by the sword. If he dodged, he would not be able to trap Su Yun. Just as he was in a dilemma, a huge body rushed over from the side. That body was holding onto a 7-colored shield, directly blocking in front of the man. The dual moon sword struck the shield, causing it to tremble uncontrollably. The big-sized man retreated a few steps, almost bumping into the man. When the man saw the big-sized man in such a sorry state, the shock in his eyes could not be concealed. He knew how strong the big-sized man was, but facing Su Yun's attack, he was actually unable to resist. How was this possible? Everyone was shocked. The shock that Su Yun had brought them made them unable to believe that this person's true strength was actually so terrifying. Although Su Yun was being controlled, the dual moon sword seemed to have come to life. After missing its attack, it moved again and fiercely stabbed towards the man. Wang Zhu! Protect me! The man shouted. Don't worry, I will protect you. The rest of you, go kill Su Yun. The big-sized man holding onto the shield clenched his teeth and said, then pounced towards the dual moon sword. Protect? How? Su Yun secretly snorted, his eyes suddenly releasing waves of ruthless light. Following that, the ripples around his body started to fluctuate. A large amount of sword intent rose around his body. Sensing this strange change, everyone's mind trembled. The enchanting woman brought 5 or 6 experts and rushed towards Su Yun. Die! The enchanting woman shouted. The sinister short blade slashed towards Su Yun's head. The blade's edge was emitting flames. It could tear through space and time. It was extremely terrifying. When the blade approached Su Yun, the space there actually started to tear and started to distort. But at the same time, a large amount of ripples appeared in the surrounding space around Su Yun. Before those people could even react, they saw countless chi swords shooting out from the ripples, fiercely stabbing towards the enchanting woman. The woman was shocked and hastily dodged, but it was too late. The chi sword instantly pierced through her body, causing her to fall from the sky, her life force disappearing. Another strike. How terrifying was the power of these chi swords! The enchanting woman was an expert who had just advanced to the void returning realm. Her physical body was definitely not weak, but facing this person's chi sword attack, her body was like paper. "You guys are the only ones left," Su Yun said indifferently. The chi swords flew out from the ripples in the air again, like locusts. They rushed towards those people. It was impossible to calculate how many chi swords there were. Like a wave of swords, they instantly drowned those people, and when the wave of swords disappeared, there was no longer a single person left. Only balls of blood mist were left in the air. When the big-sized man who was still fighting with the double moon sword saw this scene, he was incomparably shocked. His mind was distracted, and the double moon sword directly took advantage of him. His arm was cut by the sword, and a large piece of flesh fell off. "You all! What the hell are you doing? A bunch of trash!" The man who was holding Su Yun back was incomparably angry. He cursed inwardly, suddenly turned and ran into the distance. Ran away? The big-sized man was stunned. However, in the next second, the person from the other side had already rushed over, grabbing the double moon sword and slashing towards him. The big-sized man anxiously raised his sword again, but this time, the attack was not as simple as before. This move, combined with Su Yun's enormous divine power and brute force, its power was extremely terrifying. The giant shield was already smashed to pieces. With the sword falling, it immediately shattered. The big-sized man lost his giant shield, and was immediately unable to defend. In terms of speed, he was not Su Yun's match. He could not keep up with the rhythm, and was in a state of suppression. In the blink of an eye, his body was broken, and he quickly died under Su Yun's sword. "They're all trash. Trash." Seeing this, Qian Tian understood that he could not do anything to Su Yun, and immediately turned to escape. But how could Su Yun let them leave? Chapter 1433. Qian Tian's strength was not good enough. He could not escape far. Su Yun stared at the man who had the ability to suppress the seal, and leaped over. The figure that was as fast as light could no longer catch a glimpse of his figure. Feeling the pressure coming from behind, the man who was running away trembled violently, feeling regret in his heart. If he had known that Su Yun was so strong, he would have gone back and asked for stronger people to suppress him. He had only thought that Su Yun's strength was only at the level of the divine eagle race, and was not considered strong in their eyes, but he never thought that just Su Yun alone was already so terrifying. Was it the power of that evil sword? The man did not know, but he no longer had the time to think about it. Su Yun, who was behind him, immediately extended his hand out and grabbed at the air, pulling the man who was still running with all his might back. Before he could react, both of his arms were cut off, and a wave of divine power entered his body, shattering all the immortal meridians in his body. The man spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. "Qin Qianlong!" Su Yun bellowed. Qin Qianlong, who was in the distance, immediately rushed over. "Master! Bring him back and hand him over to Wei Ming. I want to know everything about him." Su Yun threw the man over. Qin Qianlong reached out and grabbed it, nodded and said, "Yes, sir." Then, he brought the man back to the encampment like a chicken. The sword ancestor who was at the side kept looking at Su Yun. Ever since the battle in the Immortal Court, Su Yun's strength had increased by a lot. This kind of talent was so strong that it made people jealous. "Looks like I am indeed old." Sword ancestor could not help but feel melancholy in his heart. Back then, he used his sword to roam the myriad realms, rarely meeting his match. His sword broke through 10,000 enemies and stood at the peak. Although he was unlucky enough to be separated from his soul by a villain, fortunately, with the help of a junior, his soul was reunited. It was just that the changes in the world made him unable to keep up. No one could escape the long river of time. No matter how glorious the sun was, there would always be a moment when it would fall. Sword ancestor sighed, and quietly stood in his original position. He knew that Su Yun would be able to handle the rest of the matters very well. Although Qian Tian was cunning, he was powerless against absolute strength. Not long after, he was captured by Su Yun. He had tried to resist, but to no avail. On the contrary, the immortal meridian in his body was shattered, his cultivation was crippled, and he was brought back by Su Yun. Su Yun did not plan to interrogate the two of them at all in front of the great exquisite technique. It was too troublesome, but it was effective. Qian Tian obviously knew that Su Yun had the great exquisite technique. After all, the great exquisite palace had submitted to him, so he immediately planned to commit suicide and destroy his own soul. But how could Su Yun give him the chance? Returning to the encampment, Su Yun and Wei Ming met face to face, then headed towards the meeting hall. The two of them were also brought over by Qin Qianlong. When the two of them saw Su Yun sitting at the top, they immediately knelt down. "Master Su Yun, don't kill us! Don as of." The two of them screamed at the top of their lungs. Their thoughts had been seen through by the great exquisite technique. All of their information had been obtained by Su Yun. They no longer had any value. Su Yun could kill them without any worries. Them, of them. They as to as, they of them as to be. As, the them of the as of them, as of to kill. Su Yun said indifferently. "Then, Master Su, what do you want us to do?" Qian Tian asked carefully. Logically speaking, they were already worthless. Their memories had been peeped into and their cultivation had been crippled. Right now, they were no different from trash. Qian Tian was well aware of this. Right now, he could only pray that he could keep his life. As long as he was still alive, nothing else mattered. If he lost his life, then he would truly be finished. "Very simple," Su Yun said indifferently. "Bring me a letter, and tell the leader of the ancient Heaven Gods Council, Dark Heaven." "What letter?" Qian Tian asked, his heart thumping. "If people do not offend me, I will not offend them. If people offend me, I will definitely offend them. If the ancient Heaven Gods Council continues to harass me, I can guarantee that the ancient Heaven Gods Council will become the second immortal court." Su Yun stared at Qian Tian and said indifferently, "Don't forget, I have the ominous sword in my hands." With that said, Qian Tian's heart trembled. Su Yun was right, he had the ominous sword in his hands. If he was forced into a corner and used it, who in the immortal world could stop him? "Scram!" Su Yun said indifferently. "Why yes." Qian Tian immediately stood up and ran out frantically. Seeing that, the man beside him also wanted to run, but was stopped by Su Yun. "Just one person is enough to deliver the message. Why you want to kill me?" the man said in fear. "No, I will not kill you, I am not interested in your life." Su Yun's mouth curled up and he laughed. "But someone is interested in your life." "Who?" The man trembled. "Me." An angry shout came from outside the house. The man was startled. He turned to look, only to see a group of people from the Eagle God clan walking in. Su Yun stood up and walked out. When he passed the door, he said to Yang Zi and the rest, "Do as you wish." "Thank you," Yang Zi said softly. Su Yun nodded his head and left. The man's fate was already clear. How many people from the Eagle God race had died at his hands? Yang Zi and the rest hated him to the bones, and wanted nothing more than to eat his flesh, so they would definitely treat him well. But compared to that, Su Yun was more concerned about the ancient Heaven Gods Council. From the man and Qian Tian's memories, he found out that the ancient Heaven Gods Council was an organization established in the ninth heaven of the immortal world, and their leader, Dark Heaven, was an extremely mysterious existence. It was said that Dark Heaven had been active in the immortal world since a long time ago. Before the Immortal Lyceum ruled the immortal world, the ancient Heaven Gods Council already existed, but at that time, the ancient Heaven Gods Council was not strong, and Dark Heaven did not show his face, rarely staying in the organization. Only recently, when Su Yun and the Immortal Lyceum clashed, did he return. Originally, Dark Heaven planned to recruit Su Yun and then take action against the Immortal Lyceum, but seeing that Su Yun's influence was so vast, dark heaven became silent. He planned to let Su Yun and the Immortal Lyceum fight to the death, and then come out to recruit Su Yun. As for the Divine Dragon Clan, Eagle God Clan and the other ancient clans, he did not plan to let any of them go. It was rumored that Dark Heaven was extremely powerful, and the dark god devil arts that he cultivated was said to be able to control heaven and earth, create time and space, and was extremely terrifying. When the ancient Heaven Gods Council conquered the Divine Dragon Clan, the 4 heavenly kings came out and defeated the Divine Dragon Clan Patriarch, causing the Divine Dragon Clan to surrender. However, facing those forces that would rather die than submit, the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council would use the most direct method to deal with them, and that was to annihilate them, leaving not a single one alive. The Eternal Heavenly Gods Council was very low profile. Dark Sky had never taken action, thus it was impossible to estimate his strength, and the 4 great heavenly kings were also unfathomable. Even Qian Tian did not have an idea. After all, Qian Tian had not met the 4 great heavenly kings many times, so it was impossible for him to see through their cultivation. Qian Tian would most likely lose his life when he returned this time, but after this, it also announced that Su Yun and the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council had officially started a war. According to the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council's character, if they were unable to recruit Su Yun twice, then the 3rd time, they would not be so gentle, they would most likely send experts over to suppress him. If he resisted, the Eagle God Clan would be the same. Su Yun did not expect that after the Immortal Court, the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council would appear. No matter what, it would not be peaceful. He could only let Wei Ming and Qin Qianlong make preparations. Without a doubt, the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council was stronger than the Immortal Court. Those they had killed previously were just some cats and dogs. The true experts had not appeared. 9th Heaven. Su Yun muttered. He sank into deep thought. This place was not considered famous in the immortal world, because it was on a cloud mountain close to the extreme east. On top of the cloud mountain, there was a spatial crack, and by entering the crack, one would be able to go above the immortal world. There were 9 layers of regions above the immortal world, and every layer was filled with immortal sects. It was just that these regions did not have any spirit items or resources that the immortals cared about, and the higher one went, the fewer immortals there were. At the 9th heaven, it could be said to be a barren land, and many immortal sects had even moved their sects to the 9th heaven. Who would have thought that the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council would choose that place? Now that the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council had provoked Su Yun time and time again, the 2 powers were like fire and water. Su Yun had also asked Su Luluo to send some people over to investigate, waiting for the result. However, the people that were sent over were ambushed by the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council, and only a few returned, and the information they obtained was even scarcer. Su Yun knew that he was currently in a passive position. The current him and the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council were like the Immortal Court and his power, one in the light and one in the dark. Big brother! Just then, Su Luluo suddenly barged into Su Yun's cultivation grounds, his expression clearly panicking. Su Yun immediately stood up and asked, "What happened?" "Big brother, Peerless Sect is requesting reinforcements," Su Luluo shouted. "Peerless Sect?" Su Yun's face changed. "Shangguan Mei Yang?" The Eternal Heavenly Gods Council sent people to Peerless Sect to force Ao Wushuang to hand over Shangguan Mei Yang. Clearly, the Eternal Heavenly Gods Council knows about the relationship between you and her, which is why they sent people to capture her. Even when the Immortal Court was here, they did not do such a thing. I never thought that they would be so despicable. Su Yun was enraged, he bellowed. Luluo, immediately get Qin Qianlong and the rest to prepare, and send people to support the Peerless Sect. I will be leaving first. What about the encampment? Su Luluo asked. With Sword Ancestor and Sect Master here, how could they dare to be impudent? If it really escalates to a battle between the great devil immortals, I'm afraid the entire immortal world will collapse. I believe that the eternal heavenly God's council will evaluate this carefully. Su Yun said, then immediately jumped out of the door and rushed out of the encampment. Before leaving, he did not forget to bring along a teleportation order badge. If there was an emergency, he could directly crush the teleportation order badge and return to the encampment. Chapter 1434. Su Yun had not contacted the Peerless sect for a long time. His goal was to weaken the relationship between him and the Peerless sect. Previously, when he fought with the Immortal Court, the huge Immortal Court was like a giant in front of the Peerless sect. The Peerless sect took good care of Su Qing'er, and Shangguan Mei Yang was her master. No matter what, Su Yun did not want to implicate them. Unexpectedly, the Immortal Court did not touch the Peerless sect, but the ancient Heaven Gods' Council. From this, it could be seen that the ancient Heaven Gods' Council was even more shameless than the Immortal Court. What Su Yun did not like the most was people using his relatives and friends to threaten him. To him, this was an action that crossed his bottom line, and Su Yun was never lenient towards such actions. With Su Yun's current cultivation, it did not take long to reach the Peerless sect. At this moment, the Peerless sect was in a scorched land and the flames of war. The gates of the Peerless sect had already collapsed, and the disciples of the Peerless sect were gathered together. Ao Wushuang pulled Shangguan Qingqing and Shangguan Mei Yang, leading a group of sect elites, and temporarily retreated to the forbidden grounds of the Peerless sect. The Peerless sect had set up a total of 700 enchantments, and every one of them was personally reinforced by him. However, against the experts from the ancient Heaven Gods' Council, these 700 enchantments were like paper, and with one palm, they were all shattered. Ao Wushuang was not an idiot. From this attack, he could tell that the person who came was not an ordinary person. He was only at the peak of the Spirit Profound God realm, and had just reached this realm, while the majority of the people in the sect were at the Spirit Profound God realm, and there were very few who had stepped into the Spirit Profound God realm. Only Shangguan Mei Yang had stepped into it not long ago, and this was the result of her obtaining the benefits of the Celestial Pool. And among the experts there were definitely experts of the Void Returning Realm. This kind of expert could be said to be a strong barrier. They could not break through, and even more so, could not cross over. The disciples rushed forward in batches, and fell in batches. The disparity in strength was too great, and they could not fight. In desperation, Ao Wushuang could only order the disciples to escape first, while he himself brought people to guard the forbidden grounds. He believed that the other party was coming for him, and the ordinary disciples would definitely not make things difficult for him. A few people from the ancient Heaven Gods' Council noticed Ao Wushuang and the rest who had retreated to the forbidden grounds, and immediately rushed over. It was just that the most ordinary disciples were displaying the strength of the Spirit Profound God realm, which was especially terrifying. Close the gate to the forbidden area. Ao Wushuang used his peerless fist to repel these people and shouted at the elders inside. Yes. The elder responded and activated the mechanism. The huge and heavy door slowly descended, and with a rumbling sound, the door to the forbidden area closed. This was the tomb set by the ancestors of the Ao clan. Other than members of the Ao clan, no one else was allowed to enter, so it was called the forbidden area. However, although this was a tomb, it was also a refuge. In order to prevent the younger generation from being oppressed by powerful enemies, the ancestors of the Ao clan specially set up this place to protect them. Sect leader, what's going on? Why would the people of the primordial Heavenly Gods' Council attack us? The gate of the Forbidden Land was closed. Everyone was safe for the time being. The first elder, who had survived the disaster, asked solemnly. The primordial Heavenly Gods' Council has only been active in the immortal world recently, so I don't know much about them. However, I heard from the disciples that they are very powerful, and they are not weaker than the immortal court. They have conquered countless immortal sects, and now they are abnormally powerful. Today they attacked us because they want us to submit. Ao Wushwang asked with a calm face, "Has the request for help been sent out?" "It has been sent out. The mysterious God sect's mysterious sect leader and the Fury Buddha Temple's Abbot Fury Buddha should be on the way. We just need to persevere for a while longer, and we will receive support," the first elder said. When Ao Wushwang heard this, he was not as happy as he imagined. His face was still very unsightly. Even if the power of these two immortal sects arrived, would they be able to solve the peerless sect's crisis? Ao Wushwang took a deep breath and said to everyone, "All of you wait here. I will enter the tomb, and no one else is allowed to enter without permission. Do you understand?" "Father, what are you going to do?" the pale Shangguan Mei Yang asked anxiously. Today's crisis made her feel extremely pained. Many people she was familiar with had fallen one by one, but she could only watch helplessly. This feeling was unforgettable. Perhaps today was the peerless sect's doomsday. Explosions sounded out continuously outside, and the buildings in the sect collapsed one by one. The rumbling sounds were extremely terrifying. "Miss, don't be afraid. This servant has already sent someone to inform young Master Su Yun. Young Master Su Yun will definitely come and save us." The personal servant girl who was dressed in Shangguan Mei Yang's clothes comforted her in a low voice. Unexpectedly, when Shangguan Mei Yang heard that, her face changed. She turned around and glared at the servant girl and said angrily, "Qing Shui, how can you act on your own? Who told you to do this?" "Miss." Seeing that his miss was so ugly, Qing Shui retreated in fear and said timidly, "Miss, young Master Su Yun killed the great immortal judge. His strength must be very strong. He must have a way. But do you know who we are facing? What if Su Yun is no match for him? Are you here to send him to his death?" Shangguan Mei Yang was extremely angry, her pink hair was in a mess, her eyes were extremely terrifying, causing Qing Shui to tremble. "Miss, I was wrong," Qing Shui cried. It was useless to blame her now. Shangguan Mei Yang was extremely vexed, but she was trapped here, and it was impossible for her to contact Su Yun. "What should I do?" Shangguan Mei Yang was extremely anxious. She looked at the others, only to see that all of their faces were filled with despair, their eyes were filled with confusion and helplessness. How could this be? Shangguan Mei Yang's lips were pale, her body swayed slightly, and she leaned against the wall weakly. "Mei Yang, don't worry, everything will be fine, we will be safe very soon." Shangguan Qing quickly walked over and gently hugged her daughter, and said, "Mother." Shangguan Mei Yang hugged Shangguan Qing tightly. Bang! Just then, an intense explosion suddenly came from outside the Forbidden Grounds. Following that, the entire Forbidden Grounds started to shake. The people inside were shaken to the point that they could not even stand properly. What's going on? Could it be that they are going to attack? Everyone be careful, the great clan elder shouted. Everyone was panicking as they stared at the entrance of the Forbidden Grounds. Bang! 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 The explosions became more and more frequent. It was clear that the people of the Eternal Celestial Gods Council outside had already started to attack the entrance. Although the entrance of the Forbidden Grounds was created by Ao Wushwang's ancestor, it was far stronger than the Sex Barrier, but facing the experts of the Void Returning Realm, it was impossible for the entrance to protect them forever. Facing such an attack, it would not be long before it shattered. Crack! Suddenly, a crack appeared on the entrance. Everyone looked at the crack, fear filling their hearts, and some people even screamed in fright. The entrance is going to shatter. What are you panicking for? At worst, we will die. In life, we will always experience death, it's just a matter of time. At this time, an old and hoarse voice came from inside the Forbidden Grounds. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw that Ao Wushwang, who had entered the Forbidden Grounds before, was already walking out, but beside him, there was an old man wearing a gray robe. The old man looked like he had one foot in the grave, and his body was incomparably thin, but his eyes were bright and full of expression. "This is the old sect master?" Shangguan Qingqing was startled, but the great clan elder beside her recognized this person. "I never thought that this old man, who wanted to guard the tomb of my ancestors before I die, would not be able to live in peace. With such a thing happening to the Peerless sect, it seems like I can't just wait for death in the tomb," the old man said indifferently, and walked straight towards the entrance of the forbidden grounds. "Mother, this old man, who is he?" "He's your grandfather," Ao Wushuang said. "Grandfather?" Shangguan Mei Yang was startled. The old man turned his head and looked at the young lady in Shangguan Qingqing's embrace. His bright and full of expression eyes burst out with light. "Profound spirit god realm? Good. Good. I never thought that the younger generation of my Ao family would be so capable, to have such a cultivation at such a young age. If we can survive this calamity, my Ao family will definitely rise." "Grandfather!" Shangguan Mei Yang called out. The old man took out a ring from his hand and handed it over to Shangguan Mei Yang, and said, "Grandfather has heard of you long ago. I originally wanted this brat to bring you over earlier, but his stubborn temper is like mine. I have been stubborn for many years, but I am already old, and according to the instructions left behind by my ancestors, I have to enter the tomb to guard the tomb until I rest in peace, but I never thought that such a thing would happen. This is the first time grandfather has seen you. Take this ring, and make good use of it." Shangguan Mei Yang's eyes became slightly moist. She took the ring and nodded. "Thank you, grandfather." "Father, this ring." "Shut up. Let's settle the matter in front of us first." The old man, who was also Ao Tianxing, said indifferently. Seeing Ao Wushuang's expression, Shangguan Mei Yang knew that the ring was definitely not a small matter. She wore it, and in an instant, she realized that the immortal qi in her body had become brand new, and actually had the urge to change. The purity of the immortal qi had reached an unprecedented height. In time, Shangguan Mei Yang's achievements would definitely surpass Ao Wushuang. That was what everyone was thinking. Boom! Just then, the door of the forbidden grounds suddenly shattered, and a wave of air gushed out from the crack of the door, bringing with it a terrifying destructive force, fiercely tearing apart everything around it. Ao Wushuang immediately urged his qi to resist. But in the next second, an even more terrifying divine power struck in, and bluntly struck his body. Ao Wushuang was forced to retreat, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. But very quickly, these auras were forced back by an even purer and more powerful divine power. Old man Ao made his move. "Which supreme being has come to my Peerless sect? I wonder what you are here for?" Ao Tianxing said indifferently. His voice was like a bell, and actually forced the other party to retreat by 30%. Chapter 1435. The Primordial Heavenly Gods Council has descended. All of you better obediently come out and accept your surrender. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your lives when the fighting starts. A voice came from outside the Forbidden Land. Following that, a terrifying godly power blasted over, destroying the entire gate. Ao Tianxing stomped on the ground with his left foot. His godly power spread out and a golden shield appeared in front of him, blocking the incoming power. The Primordial Heavenly Gods Council has never had any relations with my Peerless sect. Why has your esteemed sect come to cause trouble here today? Ao Tianxing slowly walked out of the Forbidden Land with his hands behind his back. Although his body was stooped and he was old, he had an imposing manner that was different from a young and strong man. Just by looking at him, he gave off a surging feeling. It seemed like Ao Wushuang wasn't the only one in Peerless sect. Ao Tianxing? Someone in the Primordial Heavenly Gods Council recognized the old man. Power King. Ao Tianxing frowned as he looked at one of the people in the Primordial Heavenly Gods Council. That person wasn't tall, and his body seemed to be somewhat bloated. However, his entire body was filled with a domineering force field that forbade strangers from approaching. Hearing the way Ao Tianqing addressed him, many people cried out in surprise. Power King! He was an existence that could move unhindered in the immortal world 10,000 years ago. It was said that he cultivated with brute force, and his brute force was incomparably powerful. He could tear dragons apart with his bare hands, and he was known as the #1 brute force expert in the immortal world. Power King originally had a sect, but it was destroyed by his enemies. His whereabouts were also unknown, but no one expected him to actually join the primordial Heavenly Gods' Council. Power King, for better or worse, you are a hero of a region, but I didn't expect you to become a lackey of the eternal Celestial Gods' Council, biting people everywhere. You really ruined your prestige back then. Ao Tianqing said coldly. A wise man submits to circumstances. My master, Dark Sky, can provide me with a better cultivation environment and help me reach a higher realm. Why should I care about that useless reputation? Today we have only one goal, and that is for your peerless sect to surrender to us, and then hand over one of your disciples. This way, the peerless sect can survive, and will not be destroyed by us. You want someone? Ao Tianqing frowned. Who do you want? The Power King raised his hand and pointed at Shangguan Qingqing. To be exact, he was pointing at the girl in her embrace. Seeing this, Ao Wushuang's face changed greatly. He stood in front of Shangguan Mei Yang and said angrily, You want my daughter? Are you going to hand it over or not? The Power King said indifferently. His words were filled with an unparalleled arrogance. His domineering force field seemed to be expanding, wanting to envelop the other party. What do you want my granddaughter for? Ao Tianqing said coldly. He didn't think that the Power King had taken a fancy to Shangguan Mei Yang. Although Shangguan Mei Yang's looks weren't bad, the immortal world was huge. How could there be a lack of beautiful women? There was no need for Power King to make such a big fuss over Shangguan Mei Yang. You don't need to know this. All you need to know is that if you surrender and hand her over, then the lives of your peerless sect members will be spared. If not, you will die. The Power King said in a domineering manner. He had no intention of negotiating with the people from the peerless sect. Instead, he used a commanding tone. Under the absolute power of the eternal Heavenly Gods' Council, the peerless sect had no way of resisting. How could Ao Tianqing and Ao Wushuang not know this? The two of them fell silent. The Power King wasn't the strongest person in the eternal Heavenly Gods' Council. Beside him stood a blue-haired middle-aged man. The man had his hands behind his back, and he had been silently watching everything. His aura was restrained, and his strength was unfathomable. From the position he was standing and the fact that the Power King's force field hadn't enveloped his body, it could be seen that his position wasn't inferior to the Power King's. Ao Tianqing could deal with the Power King, but what about the middle-aged man? What about the remaining experts of the eternal Heavenly Gods' Council? If they really fought, the peerless sect would definitely be in a one-sided situation. Sect Master. Right at this time, a figure quietly scuttled over from the distance. Seeing the person, Ao Wushuang's face lit up. He asked in a low voice, Have the people from the mysterious God sect and the Fury Buddha temple arrived? They're here, they're here. The person said excitedly. When Ao Wushuang heard this, his tensed face finally relaxed a little. Even if the two sects couldn't solve the problem, having more power would increase their chances of success. They're finally here. They're finally here. The mysterious God sect and our peerless sect have been friends for many years, and we're as close as brothers. Now that our peerless sect is in trouble, how could they not come? The Fury Buddha abbot of the Fury Buddha temple follows the Dharma as his own law and has compassion in his heart. Even if the people here are plunged into misery and suffering, he will not stand idly by. That's great. We're saved. The elders of the Peerless sect were extremely excited. Soon, a powerful aura came from the surroundings, and a large number of immortals rushed over. Ao Wushuang and Ao Tianqing looked at those figures. That's right. They were the people of the Fury Buddha Temple and the mysterious God sect. And the leaders of the two sects were none other than Xian Huang and the Fury Buddha Abbot. The two of them stared straight at the forbidden area without looking away. They also flew straight over at an extremely fast speed. Ao Wushuang laughed and cupped his fist. Brother Xian Huang, I trust you've been well since we last met. Fury Buddha Abbot Wushuang greets Grandmaster here. Brother Wushuang, you don't look too well. Xian Huang said faintly and flew over. However, he did not stand on the Peerless sect's side, but turned in the air and landed on the side of the Eternal Celestial Gods Council. The Fury Buddha Abbot did the same. With a chant, he followed Xian Huang and landed next to the Force King. The disciples of the mysterious God sect and the Fury Buddha Temple immediately landed there. In the blink of an eye, countless figures filled the forbidden area of the Peerless sect. Seeing this, Ao Wushuang's smile froze, and his face turned extremely pale. Brother Xian Huang, Master Abbot, it seems like these two sects are not here to help your Peerless sect, the Force King said faintly with a hint of a smile in his eyes. He liked the look on Ao Wushuang's face, which made him feel as though he was in control of the whole situation. Brother Wushuang, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm not here to help you today. On the contrary, I'm here to persuade Brother Wushuang to turn back from the wrong path and quickly join the Eternal Celestial Gods Council. Don't go further and further down the wrong path, Xian Huang said in a low voice, his voice filled with a trace of coldness. I didn't expect the mysterious God sect and the Fury Buddha Temple to join the Eternal Celestial Gods Council. This force is indeed very capable. If the Immortal Court was here, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to withstand your evil schemes, right? Ao Tianqing slowly closed his eyes and said faintly, Ba, very good indeed. What the Eternal Celestial Gods Council is doing is righteous, and it is enough to deliver all living beings from suffering. As a Buddhist, we naturally have to do our best. In the future, when we cultivate the great Tao and meet the Gautama Buddha, the Gautama Buddha will definitely praise us for our actions, the Fury Buddha Abbot said slowly. Pay! Ao Wushuang spat and said angrily, righteous? Deliver all living beings from suffering? How many sects has the Eternal Celestial Gods Council destroyed? Don't you know how many living beings have been slaughtered? If this is also to deliver all living beings from suffering, then aren't all the so-called evil in the myriad of worlds trying to deliver all living beings from suffering? Then wasn't the Immortal Court trying to deliver all living beings from suffering? Why don't I see the people of the Fury Buddha Temple following them? When the Fury Buddha Abbot heard this, his eyes burned with anger. He chanted in a low voice and shouted, Benefactor Wushuang, a devil has formed in your heart and you need to be delivered from suffering. Let this old monk help you correct your errant heart. As soon as he finished speaking, the Fury Buddha Abbot leaped and charged toward Ao Wushuang. He struck out with his palm, and it was filled with firepower. A violent aura swept away the clouds. Wushuang, don't force yourself, Ao Tianqing said solemnly. Father, don't worry. Ao Wushuang shouted and also leaped out, punching toward the Fury Buddha Abbot. Unparalleled art. The fist surged with endless profound, sweeping up the violent aura in the surroundings. With unparalleled power, it smashed toward the Fury Buddha Abbot. Bang! The two clashed head-on, but they were evenly matched. Both were forced back, and they were evenly matched. Great Mercy Mantra! The Fury Buddha Abbot was enraged by Ao Wushuang's actions. He no longer had any scruples and attacked in anger, each move carrying a terrifying fury. He roared a Buddhist mantra, and huge words with flames flew out of his mouth, bombarding Ao Wushuang. Unparalleled divine fist. Ao Wushwang did not dodge, and he faced the Fury Buddha head-on. His fist contained the power of heaven and earth, and it was unparalleled in the world. It smashed toward the Buddha words, and in an instant, the Buddha words dissipated without a trace. The Fury Buddha abbot flew into a rage, and his moves became fiercer and faster. He roared angrily, "You're dead for sure!" The palm directly slashed toward Ao Wushwang, and the terrifying fury seemed to want to tear Ao Wushwang apart. The power of the Buddha power in the fury had increased by an unknown amount, and as the Fury Buddha abbot's fury continued to increase, his ability also continued to increase. It seemed that his current strength had surpassed existences of the same level, and he was already a person who had crossed levels. Not good. If this goes on, Wushwang will lose. Ao Tianxing's voice gradually deepened. The Fury Buddha scripture that the Fury Buddha abbot cultivated was an unfathomable Buddhist dharma. It focused on transforming anger into Buddha power. Anger was born from the heart, and the heart gave birth to the will. The will turned into power, and power created all things in heaven and earth. The Buddhist dharma was all-encompassing, and all things returned to the beginning. Monks were compassionate, and their hearts were compassionate. However, the Fury Buddha scripture focused on killing and violence. It focused on using violence to eliminate evil, using violence to save the common people, and to deliver all spirits from suffering. Although it was an unorthodox Buddhist dharma, it was powerful, especially under such circumstances. The Fury Buddha abbot became angrier the more he fought, and the stronger he became. If this continued, Ao Wushwang would have no advantage at all. As expected, the Fury Buddha abbot rushed over, and a series of shocking palm strikes forced Ao Wushwang to retreat again and again. Unable to counterattack, he could only defend. The outcome of the battle seemed clear. "Benefactor, it's over!" The Fury Buddha abbot suddenly shouted in a low voice. Then, flames burst out from his body, and within the flames, there seemed to be the shadow of an angry Buddha. His palm strike was full of power, and it was terrifying beyond compare. Ao Wushwang's eyes turned cold, but at this moment, there was not the slightest trace of fear. He also punched out, but at the moment the tip of his fist struck out, a strange force lingered around it. "God force!" Someone cried out in surprise. "He used a magic treasure?" "Crap. Abbot's immortal energy alone is definitely no match for God force." The voices did not stop. Seeing this, the Fury Buddha abbot's heart jumped. It seemed that Ao Wushwang had been pretending to be weak all along, deliberately looking for an opportunity to kill in one blow. If this move landed, he would definitely lose. The destructive power of God force was not something immortal energy could compare to. Killing intent flashed in the Fury Buddha abbot's eyes, but he had no choice but to take it head-on. But right at that moment, a cold snort came from the Eternal Celestial Gods Council's group. This snort was abnormally cold, and it also contained terrifying God force. It hit Ao Wushwang's body with incomparable speed, and his body retreated several steps. His move was also interrupted. The Fury Buddha abbot's eyes shone with golden light, and he did not show any mercy. His palm directly struck Ao Wushwang's chest. "Poochie!" Ao Wushwang coughed up blood essence, and he was directly sent flying. He slammed into the wall of the forbidden area and was seriously injured. Chapter 1436. How despicable! Everyone was enraged when they saw this. Ao Tianxing took a step forward and pushed back the Fury Buddha abbot. He roared, "Shameless! You can't win a duel, so you attack secretly. Is everyone in the Eternal Gods Council like this?" The people of Peerless sect were all enraged, sneak attacking. Moreover, it was that unfathomable gray-robed middle-aged man. How despicable was he? The Fury Buddha knew that Ao Wushwang was being sneak attacked, but he didn't stop and attacked instead. He was truly shameless. Ao Wushuang used a treasure without permission. We haven't even called him despicable, so how can you call us shameless? Moreover, this was originally an unfair battle. The Fury Buddha abbot was merciful and couldn't bear to injure him, but Ao Wushuang didn't know what was good for him. Every move he made was a killing move. Did he think that the Buddha abbot's tolerance was a sign of weakness? Is there a need to be polite to such a person? The gray-robed middle-aged man beside Force King said indifferently, as if he didn't feel the slightest bit ashamed of his sneak attack. Instead, he turned black into white. Sire can be considered a senior, yet you treat juniors so shamelessly. If the Eternal Gods Council is like this, why would my peerless sect join? Ao Tianxing bellowed in anger. That's right. Even if I die, I won't join the Eternal Celestial Gods Council. Don't even think about making me hand over my daughter. Ao Wushuang angrily said as he was supported up by someone. It seems like you're refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. The gray-robed middle-aged man closed his eyes and lightly shook his head. Force King understood and said indifferently, then let's not waste time. Since Peerless Sect isn't willing to submit or hand over the daughter, we can only act according to the rules of the Eternal Gods Council. All of you listen up. From now on, everyone in Peerless Sect is on the enemy list. If you see anyone related to Peerless Sect, kill without mercy. Don't be lenient. Let them know the consequences of going against the will of the Eternal Gods Council. Yes. The moment he finished speaking, the people of the Eternal Gods Council charged toward the people of Peerless Sect. There was no need to waste time. Since Peerless Sect had chosen to resist, they could only use force to make them submit. Stop! Right at this moment, a delicate shout resounded. The Power King and the others frowned. They looked towards the direction of the voice and saw that the person who had spoken was Shangguan Meiyang. I don't know why you want to capture me, but if you don't stop, I'll kill myself immediately. Just then, Shangguan Meiyang took out a sharp dagger from somewhere and directly placed it on her chest. The dagger was imbued with immortal qi. If she were to stab down, it would most likely pierce through her soul. Stop, the gray-robed middle-aged man said calmly. Everyone stopped and looked at Shangguan Meiyang. As expected, these people were here for Shangguan Meiyang, and they wanted her alive. Girl, what are you going to do? Asked the Power King. Didn't you want my Peerless Sect to submit to you? If we agree to submit, I will also obediently return with you. Shangguan Meiyang bit her lips and said softly, Yang don't talk. Later, follow your mother and take advantage of the chaos to escape. Dad will deal with this. Ao Wushuang said in a deep voice. Father, grandfather, Yang knows that if we do this, we will bring shame to the Peerless Sect and destroy the reputation that we have built up over 10,000 years. But no matter what, it's better than dying here. Even though Yang is a girl, I understand that a man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. So many of our Peerless Sect's disciples have died in the hands of the ancient heavenly gods. Don't you want revenge? Submitting is only a temporary humiliation. It does not mean eternal humiliation. In the future, when we become stronger, we will still have a chance, right? How could Shangguan Meiyang not feel bitter in her heart? But she understood that if she still refused to submit, there would only be one ending. Everyone here would die, and she would not be able to escape the fate of being captured or even killed. Rather than that, it was better to temporarily endure the humiliation and wait for the opportunity to plot something else in the future. Ao Tianxing and Ao Wushuang were stubborn and refused to submit, but Shangguan Meiyang followed her mother's instincts and saw through it. Hearing that, the gray-robed man nodded his head and said indifferently, This girl is far-sighted, and her wisdom is not bad. If not for your special use, I would have taken you in as a disciple. May I ask, Senior, why do you want to capture me? Shangguan Meiyang hesitated for a moment and asked softly. I heard that you have a disciple named Su Ching-er, and this Su Ching-er is Su Yun's weakness. It's just that ever since Su Ching-er left the Peerless sect, no one knows where she went, and it's hard to find her. If we can borrow your name to summon Su Ching-er back, and then we can capture her, we will definitely be able to exchange for the ominous sword. It is said that in Su Yun's heart, nothing can compare to Su Ching. The gray-robed man did not hide anything, and directly stated his purpose. This was also to signal to the people of the Peerless sect that he did not intend to harm Shangguan Meiyang's life. Ching-er? Shangguan Meiyang was startled, her eyes moved, and then said, I don't know where Ching-er is now, even if you capture me, it's useless. You don't have to worry about this, we will bring you back, and someone will use the mind-reading technique on you. If you really don't know, then we'll talk about it again. The gray-robed man said, but did not mention letting Shangguan Meiyang go. Shangguan Meiyang's eyes trembled, and her face became extremely pale. No. I can't betray Ching-er, and even more so, I can't betray Su Yun. Her eyes drooped, and she suddenly regretted it. If she did that, wouldn't she be using Su Yun and Ching-er's lives to exchange for her own? So, the people of the Peerless sect, are you going to submit or resist? Make your decision, don't waste any more time. Power King said. His voice was already filled with impatience. Shangguan Meiyang lowered her head, and turned to look at her parents, the corners of her mouth raised into a bright smile. Father, mother, grandfather, Yang-er will not forget you. Shangguan Meiyang laughed softly, then turned around and walked towards the other side. Ao Wushuang heard and was stunned. What does that mean? However, in the next second, Ao Wushuang's expression changed. He could feel the aura in Shangguan Meiyang's body quietly rushing towards his brain. She wants to destroy my memories, and not let the people of the Eternal Heaven Gods Council read my memories? No. Yang-er! Ao Wushuang roared, and immediately rushed forward. However, the gray-robed man seemed to have sensed Shangguan Meiyang's abnormality, and coldly snorted, and angrily said, Reckless at this critical juncture, you still dare to play tricks? Power King! Kill them for me, there's no need to care about their feelings anymore. Kill! Power King was stunned. He did not know that Shangguan Meiyang planned to destroy his memories, but since the gray-robed man had already spoken, he did not hesitate, and directly rushed towards Ao Wushuang. Xian Huang and Fury Buddha Abbot also did not hesitate, and directly attacked the people of the Peerless sect. Powerful, powerful! As expected of the people of the Eternal Heaven Gods Council, each and every one of them is truly powerful. Relying on numbers, relying on profound cultivation, you want to bully and humiliate others? If today's matter spreads out, I believe that the sects of the immortal world will not submit to you. Wait until the immortal sects form an alliance, then form a resistance army. I see that your Eternal Heaven Gods Council will also follow the path of the immortal court. Right at this time, a voice floated over, followed by a slender sword flying from afar, directly piercing in front of the people of the Peerless sect. The sword landed on the ground, and sword chi surged out from the sword like a wave, sweeping towards the people of the Eternal Heaven Gods Council. Who? The Force King shouted. However, a pitch-black figure landed in front of them like a bolt of black lightning. Where did this wild brat come from, to actually dare to meddle in the affairs of the Eternal Heaven Gods Council? Die! Xian Huang bellowed, and directly punched towards Su Yun. Su Yun was wearing a cloak, so he could not clearly see who it was, but with Power King and the gray-robed middle-aged man backing him up, Xian Huang did not have any misgivings. However, the moment he punched out, Xian Huang regretted it, because an even more vast and terrifying sword chi directly wrapped around him, like a meat grinder, ruthlessly curling towards his arm. Xian Huang's expression changed. The guy in front of him clearly had a sharp sword on the ground. How could he release such a terrifying sword chi? He wanted to pull his arm back, but it was too late. The sword chi directly minced his arm. His immortal chi was like paper, unable to defend at all. He was also blasted away, one of his arms crippled. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. Xian Huang was defeated in one move? The gray-robed middle-aged man frowned. Shameless person, don't embarrass yourself here, quickly scram. Su Yun retracted his arm, sword chi coiling around his body, and said indifferently to Xian Huang. Power King and Fury Buddha Abbot frowned. What astonishing strength, this youngster does not seem to be as weak as he looks. Everyone thought, although it was only one move, but it gave them a huge shock. Who are you? Power King asked solemnly. Who I am is not important, what's important is that today, you will not be able to take Shangguan Mei Yang away, nor will you be able to destroy Peerless Sect. Su Yun said. Hearing that, Power King secretly snorted. Stinking brat, such arrogant words, do you know who we are? Ancient Heavenly Gods Council. You know who we are, yet you still dare to be so arrogant? Don't tell me you don't know how to write the word death? Quickly scram. Otherwise, I will kill you as well. Power King roared. His voice was like a bell. The sound wave directly spread out, striking towards Su Yun. But Su Yun did not move. He was not affected at all. A group of motley crew, why wouldn't you dare to be arrogant? Su Yun stared at Power King and the rest, and said, I advise you to scram, or else you won't be able to leave later. Madman! Do you really think you are invincible? Little do you know that killing you is like crushing an ant. Watch how I kill you. Power King was unable to restrain his anger, and wanted to rush forward to fight with Su Yun. To deal with such a reckless person, why bother Master King to personally come out? Wait for this old monk to capture him. Fury Buddha Abbot snorted. He leaped up and started chanting. Su Yun's arrogant words had angered him. Chapter 1437. Angry Buddha Abbot? You are not worthy to fight with me. If you really want to fight, Power King, come at me together. Su Yun glanced at the angry Buddha Abbot who was rushing over and said, how arrogant was he to say those words? A single person was not worthy to fight with him, and he even wanted Power King to fight with him? If this person was not an idiot, then this person was indeed very strong. Power King clenched his fists tightly, but he did not make a move. Since the angry Buddha Abbot had gone up, he could help him probe the young man's strength. The reason why Xian Huang was defeated in one move just now was because he was too careless, and now that the angry Buddha Abbot was prepared, he did not know what would happen. Su Yun's words fiercely provoked the angry Buddha Abbot. He was angry, and looking at the man's indifferent eyes, he became more and more angry, and more angry. Was this guy an idiot? He knew that the person in front of him was the angry Buddha Abbot and could not be angered, yet he still said such words. The angrier the angry Buddha Abbot was, the stronger he became. Interesting, it seems like he is just an arrogant fellow who does not know the difference between life and death. Power King suddenly laughed in his heart. The angry Buddha Abbot's figure was like fire, bringing with it a blazing battle intent. He struck out with his palm. There was a 10,000-character seal in his palm. It seemed to be able to contain everything. But the moment the palm print attacked, Su Yun's hand formed a finger and pierced the palm. Puchi. The angry Buddha Abbot's palm was instantly pierced through, and he quickly retreated. Seeing that, Power King was stunned. The gray-robed man also frowned. What a sharp attack! Not only was this person's technique extremely exquisite, his destructive power was also extremely shocking. He was a pure sword cultivator, and his attainments in the way of the sword were extremely high. The people from the Peerless Sect did not think much of it. Su Yun's back was facing them the entire time, and with his cloak, they could not see his appearance clearly. However, Shangguan Mei Yang covered her mouth with her small hands. She was surprised and excited. She knew who the person in front of her was. She never thought that he would actually come, and come alone. Could it be that he was really not afraid? Didn't he know that these people were here for him? Su Yun stood there perfectly straight, motionless, his sword eyes sharp, giving off a stubborn feeling that he would rather break than bend. The Fury Buddha abbot knew that this person wasn't as easy to deal with as he had imagined. After that, he stood up straight and formed Buddhist seals with one hand. His other hand shook and a blazing monastic robe appeared in his hand. He draped the monastic robe over his body as his rage surged frenziedly. His eyes also turned red as rage blazed and erupted forth, causing his combat prowess to increase at a crazy rate. "I will redeem you!" the furious Buddha abbot roared, chanting in Buddhist language. The Buddhist light behind him flashed, complementing his terrifying anger. Like a giant's palm, it fiercely smashed towards Su Yun. "Pudu?" Killing intent flashed in Su Yun's eyes, the sword chi overflowed, wrapping around the angry Buddha abbot's body. It started to frantically corrode the anger and strength on his body, but the angry Buddha abbot acted as if he did not know the pain, and continued to rush forward, as if he had gone mad. He was fearless. "Scram!" Su Yun roared. His palm struck out, a terrifying palm wind was released. The palm wind was completely covered with God power, transforming into sword chi. The terrifying sword chi crisscrossed together, forming a dense sword wind, blowing towards the angry Buddha abbot. Boundless Buddha Dharma! The angry Buddha abbot pressed down with his palm. The Buddha power surged, as if he wanted to resist the sword wind. The anger in his entire body seemed to want to burn him, releasing his strongest power. The sword wind was being consumed bit by bit, and the Buddha power was also disappearing bit by bit. The angry Buddha abbot seemed to be able to withstand this attack. But in the next second, a figure appeared in front of him. The angry Buddha abbot was shocked. He immediately raised his hand to attack, but the person also punched out, smashing towards his chest. So fast, so ruthless, so poisonous. The angry Buddha abbot had thousands of thoughts in his mind, but at this time, how could he think about anything else? Poochie! The fist directly shattered his arm and pierced through his chest. The defense of the angry Buddha abbot was like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. He widened his eyes and looked at the ice-cold man in front of him. Even now, he still couldn't believe it. You actually hurt me?" The angry Buddha abbot stammered. "Hurt you? Is it very difficult?" Su Yun pulled his hand out from his chest, grabbed his neck, and actually lifted him up with one hand. The angry Buddha abbot continued to struggle, releasing his chi, but at this moment, he was shocked to discover that after Su Yun approached him, the strength in his entire body was suppressed to the point that he could not produce even the slightest bit of it. Strength. It was the suppression of strength. Absolute strength had completely suppressed his own strength, and he was unable to use it in the slightest. This person's strength was too terrifying. It was simply incomparable. Only then did the angry Buddha abbot realize just how powerful the person he was challenging was. "I told you to attack together with Power King, but you didn't listen. Since that's the case, then you can go and die." Su Yun snorted. He suddenly clenched his fist, and a burst of sword force flowed out from his palm, instantly pervading the angry Buddha abbot's body. The abbot's body instantly exploded, and he died like a blooming flower. Everyone present was shocked. The angry Buddha abbot died just like that? How long did he even last? The monks of the angry Buddha temple looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock and fear. The angry Buddha abbot was dead. Wouldn't they also be in trouble? Bastard! Power King was enraged. He looked at the gray-robed man beside him, slightly disappointed. Just now when Su Yun killed the angry Buddha abbot, the gray-robed man could have stopped him, but he did not do so. Could it be that he intentionally wanted to sacrifice the angry Buddha abbot? "You are Su Yun, right?" Just then, the gray-robed man suddenly spoke. "You actually recognized me?" Su Yun flicked the bright red liquid on his palm, and said indifferently, but isn't it a little too late to recognize me now? With that said, the people of Peerless sect flared up. Su Yun? It's actually you? Ao Wushuang did not expect that Su Yun would actually come to save them. Xian Huang and the angry Buddha abbot had betrayed them, and relied on the eternal Heaven God's counsel, and Su Yun, whom he did not place his hopes on, had actually come to help at this crucial moment. Furthermore, he was alone. Why? Could it be that it was really because of old feelings? Was it worth it? How difficult was it for an immortal to cultivate to this level? People in this realm would cherish their lives very much and wouldn't easily take risk. Even though Ao Wushuang resented Xian Huang and Furious Buddha, he could understand their actions. After all, the eternal celestial God's counsel was very powerful, and they might have been forced to do so. But betrayal was betrayal, there was no need to be polite. You are immortal friend Su Yun? I have heard Wushuang mention you. Today's matter has nothing to do with immortal friend, this place is dangerous, you should quickly leave. Our Peerless sect will take care of it. Ao Tianqing looked at Su Yun and said. Although he knew that Su Yun's strength was not simple, the people in front of him were all experts. He was just one person, how could he turn the situation around? Your Peerless sect will take care of it? Su Yun turned his head, revealing a pale face under the cloak. Can you really take care of these people? Can you really protect Yang? If you can't, it's better not to speak. Ao Tianqing was speechless. He did not know how to refute. What an arrogant young man! But, with his strength, being arrogant was not too much. The gray-robed man glanced at Su Yun, then said, Su Yun, I see that your talent is unparalleled, and your strength is strong. If you are nurtured, you will definitely be able to walk your own path in the future, and become the ruler of the world, but even though you have such talent, you do not have the opportunity, you do not have a strong platform to use as a springboard. Even if your talent is unparalleled, you can only remain unknown, and might even provoke a strong enemy, and die. I will give you a chance, as long as you enter my Master Dark Sky, and pledge allegiance to the eternal Heaven God's counsel, then, I can guarantee that you will definitely rise, and your life will definitely shine. The eternal Heaven God's counsel is really that powerful? Su Yun laughed. Then should I thank you? You agree? The gray-robed man's eyes flashed with a trace of light. No. Su Yun directly rejected. You. Power King was enraged. You guys want to recruit me, but only because you want my ominous sword. You guys do not dare to use force against me, and have sent people to recruit me again and again, because you are afraid of my strength. After all, I have overturned the immortal court. You guys are afraid that even if you defeat me and obtain the ominous sword, your strength will be greatly reduced, and you are worried that you will not be able to protect the ominous sword, so you guys want to take me down without any bloodshed. Don't use our tolerance as a barrier for you to be unbridled. Master Dark Sky has already instructed, if you are not willing to surrender, we can only destroy you. The gray-robed man released his killing intent. But it was also clear that Su Yun had spoken of their weakness. Since Sire wants to make a move, then hurry up and make a move. Why are you wasting time? Could it be that you guys still have hope of persuading me to surrender? Su Yun laughed indifferently. The current him was like a monkey, leisurely and contented, without the slightest bit of nervousness. Bastard! Power King was completely enraged. He directly rushed forward. All the muscles on his body swelled up, a terrifying power surged out, a force field came pressing down, as though the sky was falling, directly smashing towards Su Yun. I want you dead! A terrifying power swept out. Compared to him, raging Buddha Abbot was many times weaker. You want me to die? Forgive me for speaking bluntly. You are still lacking. Su Yun snorted, without the slightest bit of fear. He similarly raised his hand, accumulating strength in his fist. He fiercely smashed towards the incoming fist. The terrifying fist tip directly pounced towards Surge Force King, the two fists colliding. Then, an inconceivable scene appeared. Power King was shaken. He directly retreated more than 10 steps, while Su Yun himself did not move at all, like a mountain. Is this Su Yun's strength? How terrifying! Chapter 1438. The Power King was a power cultivator. His brute force was extremely terrifying, but when he fought with this young man head-on, he actually lost in terms of strength. The Power King stabilized his body. He raised his eyes and looked at Su Yun, his face filled with shock. How was this possible? How could I lose in terms of strength? This was impossible. That brat, what method did he use? He definitely did not just use strength. He must have used some other method. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such power. The Power King comforted himself in his heart. He did not want to lose confidence just like that. The surrounding people also revealed looks of shock. They also could not believe that Su Yun had used strength to defeat the Power King. He definitely had other method. Oh? The dignified Power King only has this much strength? You are truly unworthy of your title. Su Yun said indifferently. Pay. Despicable, you obviously secretly used god power. If not, do you think you can beat me in terms of brute force? The Power King scolded. Despicable? You actually have the face to call me despicable? What a joke. When you guys bully those weak immortal sects with your brute force, why didn't you call yourself despicable? When you guys came to capture Shangguan Meiyang, with the intention of using her to threaten me, why didn't you call yourself despicable? Now you're saying that I'm despicable? Isn't this the biggest joke in the world? Furthermore, who told you that I used god power in my punch just now? Su Yun sneered. He suddenly moved quickly. He was extremely fast, and in an instant, he appeared in front of the Power King. The Power King's heart jumped. He immediately waved both of his hands towards Su Yun. The terrifying power that swept through the heaven and earth pressed down on Su Yun. It had to be said, the Power King's power cultivation was truly powerful. He did not hold back in the 2 hurried punches, and used all of his strength to throw them out. Regardless of the terrifying pressure, it seemed to be able to cut off Su Yun's attack. Su Yun took a deep breath. His eyes turned sinister, bringing with him a hysterical and berserk intent. He fiercely smashed forward. Dong! The fist smashed onto the Power King's shoulder, and without any accidents, his body directly fell down, fiercely smashing onto the ground. The ground of the peerless sect's forbidden grounds instantly crumbled. The terrifying power turned the entire place into an earthquake zone, making it impossible for anyone to stand. This was pure power. If it was said that Su Yun's hasty counterattack was too fast, and everyone did not see it carefully, then this attack, most people were well aware of it, because in that place, there were no fluctuations of god power, nor the slightest fluctuation of immortal qi. Su Yun completely relied on his body technique, and relied on his strength to throw out this punch. This was a complete suppression of power. The Herculean King was inferior. Not only is this guy's cultivation powerful, but his physical body is also not weak. The gray-robed middle-aged man thought to himself. When the people of the Peerless sect saw this, they were all excited. The disciples even revealed looks of worship. Who wouldn't respect such a powerful expert? Shangguan Meiyang was even more shocked. From what she saw today, Su Yun's strength seemed to have grown to an immeasurable height. She knew that she and Su Yun were people from 2 different worlds, and could not be compared at all. For some reason, Shangguan Meiyang felt a trace of helplessness in her heart, but she quickly hid that feeling. Of course, the most surprised person was not Shangguan Meiyang, but Shangguan Qingqing. Thinking back to the first time she met Su Yun, it was only in the Sky Martial Continent. At that time, although his talent was not bad, and he was considered an expert in the Sky Martial Continent, who would have thought that the current Su Yun had already grown to such a terrifying level? The affairs of the world were truly unpredictable. Do you still think that I am using god power? Su Yun stared at Power King, who was crawling up with difficulty, and said indifferently, "Damn it!" Power King was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he was actually beaten up so miserably by Su Yun. If this matter were to spread, how could he still have the face to stand in the immortal world? The Power King took out a golden pill and threw it into his mouth. Gulp. When the pill entered his stomach, golden lines immediately crawled out of Power King's skin, like golden snakes. It was sinister and terrifying, and the force field around his body also increased by a few hundred times. The walls of the forbidden grounds were crushed by the force field, and the people around him were directly sent flying. "Be careful." Ao Tianxing's face changed. He immediately pulled Shangguan Qingqing and Shangguan Meiyang and retreated. He actually used a pill. "Let's go." Ao Wu Shuang roared and retreated, while the people of the ancient Heaven Gods Council did not dare to stay any longer. All of them retreated frantically. Only the gray-robed middle-aged man did not move an inch. Some of the people who did not retreat in time were directly crushed by the terrifying force field. Even their souls could not fly out, and were directly shattered. With a rumble, the forbidden grounds of the unparalleled sect was turned into fine powder, completely shattered. The ground was also pierced through, and the clouds below were instantly shattered. Such a terrifying scene caused everyone to tremble in fear. The force field over there was already strong enough to easily tear apart an early-stage spirit god realm existence. Su Yun frowned. He felt that his body was abnormally heavy, such a powerful force field, even he could not ignore it. What pill did Power King consume, to actually raise his strength to such an extent? "How is it? Stinking brat. Can you feel my unparalleled strength?" Power King's eyes were golden. His voice was like thunder. It was extremely oppressive. Looking at Su Yun, it was like a god looking at an ant. It was an intense self-confidence, just like his current strength, indestructible. That look of disdain made Su Yun extremely unhappy. He snorted and said, "Using pills to forcefully raise your own strength? What a joke. Previously you slandered me for using god power, scolded me for being despicable, but now what are you doing? Winner takes all. Why speak so much? A true expert, as long as they can win, it doesn't matter what methods they use." The gray-robed middle-aged man said indifferently, "Is that so?" Su Yun snorted. He suddenly took 2 steps forward, and walked to the side of the dual moon sword. "Since it's like this, then I'll be more serious. Come, Power King!" He shouted loudly. His strong self-confidence was definitely not inferior to Power King. This was the pride of a swordsman. With a sword in hand, there was nothing in the world to fear. "You still want to stand in front of me? Very good. Since that's the case, I'll send you to see the Fury Buddha." Power King roared and rushed forward. His speed was so fast that he could not be seen, at least 50 times faster than after swallowing the pill, but this speed was not considered fast in Su Yun's eyes. It had to be known that Su Yun was also a person who excelled in speed. When he got close to Su Yun, Power King raised his fist, and when he swung it out, the space between the fist was directly torn apart. The space twisted, and following the extension of the fist, it continued to twist, and when it got close to Su Yun, the space around him was already completely deformed. The destructive aura rippled crazily. The immortal chi was nothing at that moment. This incomparably tyrannical aura vowed to crush everything in the world. But just as the fist was about to reach its target, a sharp sword suddenly shot out. A large number of sword images appeared. Countless sword lights shot out like rays of light from the sun, stimulating the eyes of the surrounding people. Even the gray-robed middle-aged man could not help but blink. Sword chi. The gray-robed middle-aged man's heart jumped. He stared at the person. This was not the sword chi that Su Yun had used before. This sword chi was even more ferocious, even stronger, and even sharper. The sword chi from before was condensed from Su Yun's own understanding, comprehension, and knowledge of the way of the sword. Although it was also very strong, but compared to the current sword chi, there was an intrinsic difference. Because this sword aura was being released from the sword in his hand. The force field was destroyed, the destructive aura was flattened, even the distorted space was flattened by the miraculous sword chi, the unparalleled tyrannical force field was instantly suppressed by the miraculous sword chi, without the slightest bit of mercy. His strongest point was not his strength, but his sword chi. Moreover, his sword was even stronger and more terrifying than his strength. The gray-robed middle-aged man's face changed. He stared at the scene unblinkingly, only to see layers of sword images appearing. Following that, Power King was instantly enveloped by the sword images. His imposing attack also instantly stopped. He maintained his attacking posture, not moving at all, and the life force in his body was also rapidly flowing away. Everything seemed to have calmed down, as if the world that should have entered the apocalypse had instantly turned into a sunny day after the rain. The gray-robed middle-aged man's eyes were immediately filled with rage, his face extremely ugly. Power King opened his eyes wide, looking at the man holding the sword in front of him. He wanted to gasp for breath. He used all his strength, but realized that he was already unable to do such a simple thing. Why? Power King groaned, his breathing gradually stopped. He fell down, and the moment he fell, his body immediately split into dozens of pieces. His ending was extremely miserable. Power King dead. Everyone on both sides were silent. Even Power King was defeated, and even after using the pill to increase his strength, he was still defeated, and he was killed by the young man in front of him with a single sword strike. There was simply no way to retaliate. He was being suppressed in all aspects. That dazzling and beautiful sword, just what level of comprehension did a person have to have in the way of the sword to be able to unleash such a dazzling sword strike? Ao Tianxing sucked in a breath of cold air. He was the strongest person in the peerless sect, but in front of the ancient god and the others, he was nothing, and in front of this young man, he was like an ant. He believed that he would not be able to receive this sword, nor would he be able to dodge it. This person was even more terrifying. Luckily Su Yun is a friend and not an enemy. If I had such an enemy, the peerless sect would have perished. Ao Wu Shuang thought inwardly. Very good. Su Yun, it seems like our ancient god council will no longer need to persuade you to surrender in the future. The gray-robed middle-aged man's voice was filled with dense anger. He stared fixedly at Su Yun. If you are not willing to submit, then accept your death. With that said, the gray-robed man raised his hand, waved it, and shouted, Kill! Leave no one alive. With that said, the ancient god council, mysterious god sect, and Fury Buddha temple all rushed over. They were not worried about Su Yun, because the gray-robed middle-aged man had already made his move. If this continued, he would definitely be suppressed by Su Yun. Don't be too arrogant. Take this. Gray Cloak Divine Incantation. The gray-robed middle-aged man stared at the sword aura and finally made his move again. He raised both of his hands and his gray robe fluttered. 2 rays of nirvana light shot out from within, as though they wanted to tear everything apart and swept towards Su Yun. The terrifying nirvana light seemed to have pierced through time and space, ignoring the laws and element. Any immortal chi or divine power was like nothing in front of it, and instantly arrived in front of Su Yun. Su Yun anxiously turned to dodge, but it was too late. He forcefully took the attack, and was struck down. The skin and flesh on his body trembled violently, cracks appeared. It was obvious that he was injured. However, he did not lose his composure because of this, and hurriedly challenged him. Limitless sword arts. Su Yun swung his sword, the sword chi shot out from the sword body, transforming into countless chi swords. Like a torrential rain, they baptized the gray-robed middle-aged man. The gray-robed middle-aged man struggled to move. His entire body was cut by the chi sword. Gray robe covers the sky. The gray-robed middle-aged man was not discouraged. He used his move again. The gray robe extended infinitely, like a devil's claw. It covered Su Yun, as though it wanted to devour him. A person from the Peerless sect who did not have the time to escape was covered by the gray robe. His body instantly turned into blood and fused into the gray robe. What a terrifying robe! If it was touched, even the spirit god would not be able to hold on for a few seconds. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He raised his finger. The divine power gathered at his fingertip, and the rice grain-sized divine power compression appeared again. Whiz! Bang! The rice grain-sized divine power shot out, instantly piercing through the gray robe. The sword chi splashing out cut the gray robe into pieces. The gray-robed middle-aged man retreated, his chest heaving up and down, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. No. This kid, good technique. Moreover, under this terrifying sword force and sword might, it was impossible to get close to this kid. The gray-robed middle-aged man knew that Su Yun was also at the peak of the origin void realm, and furthermore, it was the true peak, only a step away from entering the next realm. He had no chance of winning, and the other party was even holding a fierce sword in his hand. If he did not have absolute strength to suppress him, it would be impossible for him to subdue him. The eyes of the gray-robed middle-aged man swayed. He suddenly gathered all the energy in his body, stopped attacking, and only focused on defense. The pressure brought to him by the sword force and sword might immediately lessened by a lot. Su Yun, sooner or later, your life will die in my hands. The gray-robed middle-aged man's face became sinister. Suddenly, the gray robe in his hand trembled, and the air shook. In the blink of an eye, a figure appeared under his gray robe. Shangguan Mei Yang. Su Yun's face changed. He immediately stopped his sword force and sword might. This gray-robed middle-aged man had good methods. He actually had the ability to cross the void, the same terrifying immortal technique as the void plucking gloves. He directly grabbed Shangguan Mei Yang, who was extremely far away. As expected, he was proficient in the void immortal technique. This method was extremely rare in the immortal world, but today, he met one. What is it? Why did you stop attacking? Why didn't you continue to kill me? A trace of excitement and carefree feeling surfaced on the face of the gray-robed middle-aged man. With a hostage in his hands, what did he have to fear? Didn't Su Yun come here to save Shangguan Mei Yang? From this, it could be seen that this was his weakness. Let her go, Su Yun said indifferently, the killing intent in his eyes becoming stronger and stronger. Hand over the evil sword. Impossible. If the evil sword was handed over, everyone would die. Then her life will be gone. I hate it when people threaten me the most. Su Yun raised the dual moon sword in his hands. His voice was cold, like a nine-hell-fiend god. Today, you used her to threaten me, and you are destined to not leave alive, and your soul will also be refined by me. I guarantee that you will die in endless torture and pain. Ha 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 ha, how laughable. What right do you have to say such words to me? If you don't care about her life or death, then go ahead. The gray-robed middle-aged man laughed out loud, then raised his hand, and a gust of astral wind blew over. If you dodge, I will kill her. As the astral wind attacked, a cold voice came out. Hearing that, Su Yun did not move. Bang! He was forced back a few steps, his chest heaving slightly. The excitement in the gray-robed middle-aged man's eyes grew stronger and stronger. Su Yun, don't worry about me. Kill him! Shangguan Mei Yang cried out. But Su Yun did not say a word, his eyes still filled with stubbornness. How respectable! The gray-robed middle-aged man said in ridicule, and then another gust of wind came, but this gust of wind was filled with killing intent, and was filled with destructive power. Dodge! Shangguan Mei Yang screamed, But Su Yun still did not move, her eyes were filled with despair and guilt. Finally, she closed her eyes, the immortal chi around her body flowed, she was actually going to self-destruct. Whiz! At this moment, the motionless figure suddenly disappeared. Su Yun dodged. Don't regret it. The gray-robed middle-aged man squinted his eyes, and without hesitation, he slapped Shangguan Mei Yang's head. The palm wind blew Shangguan Mei Yang's pink hair into a mess. But in that moment of life and death, the person he had imprisoned under the gray robe suddenly disappeared, leaving behind a wave of void energy. What? The gray-robed middle-aged man's face changed. You're not the only one who has such a method. A voice floated over, it was Su Yun, who was currently holding on to Shangguan Mei Yang. Void removal glove? The gray-robed middle-aged man actually recognized the treasure. Now, it's time for you to pay the price for what you did just now. Su Yun placed Shangguan Mei Yang down and said coldly, a terrifying killing intent erupted from his body, and with a move of his body, he disappeared. Everyone had a bottom line, and Su Yun's bottom line was a threat, and coincidentally, this person had touched his bottom line, so Su Yun had to pay any price to kill this person. So fast. The gray-robed middle-aged man immediately turned and ran. But the killing intent was still surging behind him, like the mouth of a terrifying giant beast, wanting to swallow him whole. Damn it! I've underestimated this kid. The gray-robed middle-aged man secretly clenched his teeth, using his fastest speed. He shot out of the peerless sect like a beam of light, escaping into the distance. You can't escape. Su Yun's voice came out from behind. Is that so? Do you really think you can catch up to me? The middle-aged man snorted, suddenly took out a crystal stone, and crushed it. After that, an azure wind wrapped around his body, and his speed instantly increased by a few times, leaving Su Yun in the dust. Seeing that, Su Yun slowed down. Su Yun! In a few days, I'll personally kill you. Wash your neck and wait for me. The gray-robed middle-aged man's threatening voice came from afar. But Su Yun's expression did not change much. He just said coldly, You don't have a chance. The gray-robed middle-aged man who was still running was startled. He did not understand what Su Yun meant. With Su Yun's speed, it was impossible for him to catch up, yet he still confidently said such words. Using the void removal glove? Previously, he did not take precautions, but this time, he would not. But just as he was still flying forward, a dense mass of spells suddenly flew out from the thick clouds in the distance and fiercely smashed towards him. Bang! 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 The gray-robed middle-aged man was caught off guard, and was directly smashed down, landing on a cloud. What was going on? He opened his eyes wide and looked into the distance, but the scene in front of him left him flabbergasted. On the thick cloud in the distance, countless figures quickly flew out, densely packed. There were hundreds of thousands of them. They were like locusts, filling the sky, and with the gray-robed middle-aged man as the center, they instantly surrounded him. Countless spells were activated, locking him as the target. The huge and terrifying destructive aura directly engulfed his entire body. These people are all here for me? The gray-robed middle-aged man's heart was filled with despair. Chapter 1440. Seeing Su Yun walk over, the gray-robed middle-aged man finally understood that Su Yun was not alone. Behind him, there was a large portion of his power. Facing so many immortals, even if the gray-robed middle-aged man had the ability to escape, furthermore, Su Yun was still here, he had no chance. What do you want? The gray-robed middle-aged man calmed himself down and said, Look into my eyes. Su Yun said. His eyes suddenly flashed with gold light. Hearing that, the gray-robed middle-aged man subconsciously looked into Su Yun's eyes, but with just a glance, his heart trembled fiercely. Mind-reading technique? 1. A sharp sword was pressed against his neck, and he didn't dare to move his neck in the slightest. A moment later, the gray-gowned middle-aged man was drenched in sweat, his complexion pale. The mind-reading technique was too frightening. Su Yun had seen through everything in his mind, leaving nothing out. Now, Su Yun even knew how many treasures he had on him, not to mention everything about the eternal heavenly God's council. The mind-reading technique and the divination technique were the two great techniques of the immortal world. These two techniques were the most feared by people. Many people even hoped that they could be listed as forbidden books, killing anyone who cultivated them. Back then, the Grand Exquisite Palace's Grand Exquisite art was renowned for this technique. However, because of this technique, it made many enemies. As a last resort, Kuei Yang could only keep a low profile. Over the years, he didn't dare to come into contact with other immortal sects, allowing the Grand Exquisite Palace to survive. Back then, when the immortal court ruled over the immortal world, these two techniques were controlled by the immortal court. The immortals dared not say anything. Naturally, they would not act recklessly. Su Yun retracted the great exquisite technique and closed his eyes, as though digesting the memories he obtained from the gray-robed middle-aged man. Why, you have already obtained all of my memories. I can't defeat you. I am no threat to you, and you already know what you want to know. Can why you let me go? The gray-robed middle-aged man said while trembling. He knew that he was no longer of any use to Su Yun. Let you go. Su Yun's eyes suddenly turned cold. He waved the twin moon swords. Pucci. The gray-robed middle-aged man's head was instantly chopped off, blood spurting into the sky, his soul spilling out. Take his soul back and refine it. Su Yun said coldly. I said before, I will let you die in pain. Do you think it's possible for me to let you go just like that? The soul that seeped out from the gray-robed middle-aged man's body was extremely terrified, and it fled madly. However, it hadn't run far before it was captured and sealed within the magic treasure. Su Yun ordered, and everyone rushed towards the peerless sect. I am thinking of disbanding the peerless sect temporarily, and finding a friend in the immortal world with your grandfather. Ao Wushuang sighed and said. He already had this plan. Rather than being destroyed by the eternal heaven God's council, it was better to disband the peerless sect and find another way out. You can choose to join my encampment, but the prerequisite is that you have to listen to my orders and fight against the enemy together. Su Yun said indifferently. Ao Wushuang was startled, then shook his head. Su Yun, I appreciate your good intentions, but everyone has their own ambitions. I will not force you. After today, take care of yourselves, Su Yun said, then left with Shangguan Mei Yang. Shangguan Qing Cheng and the rest looked at the sky full of immortals leaving, and all of them were deeply moved. Wushuang, what do you plan to do next? Shangguan Qing Cheng asked. This time I was wrong. Xian Huang and Abbot Fury Buddha are both unjust people who almost caused my death. However, I still have a few close friends. Qingqing, come with me, but before we leave, I have to inform all the major sects to be on their guard against the primordial heavenly God's council. The rise of this power is too sudden, and they are devouring the immortal sects with the momentum of a whale. Their style is not inferior to the immortal court of the past. We must warn the people of the immortal world. Ao Wushuang looked at the old man beside him and said, Father, you come with me. I'm not going. Ao Tianxing shook his head and said indifferently, Wushuang, bring these people and leave. I don't have much time left, so I will guard the ancestors' tombstones in this forbidden area. Treat it as an explanation to the ancestors. After saying that, the old man slowly walked into the broken gate of the forbidden area, and his figure quickly disappeared. Ao Wushuang sighed, then knelt on the ground and kowtowed a few times, then left with the remaining people of the peerless sect. After returning to the encampment, Su Yun's expression was extremely solemn. From the gray-robed man, Su Yun had obtained a lot of information regarding the Eternal Heaven God's Council. This power was much stronger than he had imagined. The 1,000 beyond heavens that he had crossed swords with was only a low-level sect, and the 1,000 beyond heavens was only a low-level messenger. The Dragon God clan was slightly better, and was more or less a middle-level member. However, they were only hired thugs, and did not have any status in the Eternal Heaven God's Council. The ones who truly had status were the 4 heavenly kings of the Ancient Heaven God's Council: Ancient Elephant King, Ancient Lion King, Ancient Venerable, and Ancient Witch God. Power King and the gray-robed man belonged to the Ancient Elephant King, while the 4 heavenly kings were directly led by Dark Sky.